Welcome back. Happy New Year. It's 2016. We're back on Podcast Unlocked. I hope people enjoyed the outtake show that we threw together at the end.
I certainly did.
I listened to that during a layover because I was concerned for my job.
I pre-listened to it to make sure none of us would get fired.
Can never be too safe.
But yeah, what's cool about that, when I was putting it together, most of that I'd forgotten, because if I get an outtake, I just would dump it into another file, and then at the end of the year, compiled everything.
We talk a lot about balls between takes of this show.
And there's so much profanity. So much
Happy
profanity.
to be here.
Yeah. I'm Ryan McCaffrey. That's Mitch Dyer. Hey. We got the Shark, Sean Finnegan, back with us. Marty Sleva at CES. Destin Legary has a family matter to attend to. He'll be back next week. Sitting in with us, though, fortuitously this week, is a guy we like a lot. You will know him when we start to talk about him. His name is Steve Gaynor. Hi, Steve.
Hey, everybody.
I've heard of you.
You are here to promote
Online.
the console release of Gone Home, which was one of our favorite games from, is it 2014 already? 2013. I feel old.
Yeah. It's
So
now
long ago.
that we ticked over into the new year by 1 week, it's 3 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then you, of course, is it fair to say you made your name as the sort of lead guy behind Minerva's Den for BioShock 2?
Probably.
That,
I mean, you'd know better than me.
Well, you know.
That was definitely the first project that I was like lead and writer on.
Yeah.
I was a level designer on BioShock 2, and then I was the lead designer and writer of the DLC for that, Minerva's Den.
Right.
And then I went to Boston and worked on BioShock Infinite for like a year before coming back to the West Coast and starting Fulbright Company. And
Yeah, you went up to Oregon, right?
yeah, yep. We're based in Portland, Oregon. I was lucky enough to be able to lure a couple of former coworkers from my AAA days to come up there and start the company and get the game off the ground. And here we are.
Did you have roots there? Because we don't hear of a lot of game development happening. Like, Austin's a big game development hub. San Francisco's big.
Right.
There's certainly, Montreal is enormous, but
Yeah.
you don't hear much. Yeah, of course, Seattle with Nintendo, but you don't hear much about Oregon as far as the Pacific Northwest goes.
No, there's not. I mean, it's interesting because I think that a big part of why there are those big game hubs where they are, especially up and down the West Coast, has to do with there being other big industries that kind of like draw people in there.
Yeah, make sure get right on that mic. I don't want to miss a word of this.
There are these big, kind of established industries there that draw a bunch of people in, and then
They split off and start their own studios. I mean, that's why there was a big community in Austin, because it was kind of like, okay, Origin started there, Richard Garriott was there, all these people came in, then they kind of started their own thing. Seattle, it's like Valve was formed by ex-Microsoft employees, and I think Bungie was too. Portland.
Well, the Bungie guys came out from Chicago.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Microsoft bought them and brought them to Seattle, but that's why they're in Seattle, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, absolutely.
So Portland. There's like Nike is based there.
Yeah.
There's a big Intel campus there, but I don't think there's ever been. There's a huge. I think there's a ton of game dev like in LA, because it's like people who had started in effects and filmmaking and sort of, and so Portland, I think, hasn't had that kind of like big starting point to be like, oh, so many people got drawn here for this and they have the skills and now they're going to filter out. So yeah, like you said, my wife is from Portland. I went to college in Portland. I had lived there before I moved down to San Francisco and then out to Boston and everything. And so yeah, after I had been on Infinite for a year, it was interesting because it was like, I had worked on BioShock 2, which is a fairly big project.
Yeah, absolutely.
As far as like team size and game size and everything. And then Minerva's Den was 9 full-time developers working on that for 6 months. So it was a small team, short timeline. That's the kind of thing you can do when you have like a whole game to work with, but like it still had that very small team feel to it within the bigger organization. So anyway, going back to working on a really even huger project like Infinite was, it was just like a crazy,
a lot of people,
it was
money.
like extremely ambitious. There was a ton going on, and I'm really glad that I got to contribute to it and work with people that had been my like game development idols there. But after I was there for a year, I was kind of like, man, this is bigger than I want to be working, at this point. I think having experienced like the small team thing. So yeah, my wife and I were just like, we've been chasing jobs around the country for long enough. Let's just go back to Portland and see what we can make happen.
So in 10 years, when the Portland game development scene is huge, you're going to feel really good about yourself because it'll be like, they all sprung up around us.
I mean, in a way, I hope some version of that is at least kind of true.
Yeah.
I mean, because the thing is, like, you know, for Gone Home, it was just the three of us in Portland, and our 3D artist, Kate, lives in Canada. She works remotely. But, you know, 2 of the 3 team members that were there came up from the Bay Area. For Tacoma, we hired, we've doubled our team size.
From 4 to 8.
Yeah. But, you know, we've everybody that we've hired has come from Austin or Seattle or New York or LA. So, you know, it's even now it's cool to get to feel like we're pulling people into Portland to make this thing possible.
It's cool to have it's nice to have a game developer, a community of game developers there, right? Because I know, like, for me, I've been in the Bay Area now for over 13 years. I totally love it here. But I don't have any family here, and that's the only thing I don't like. You know, is I don't have any sort of. So it's got to be nice if you can start sort of building a community of fellow game developers up in Portland.
And it's not like there's no game development like community in Portland.
Right.
Like, you know, there are people that are making cool stuff. There's a game called EXO that got kickstarted by another small team in Portland. Like, there's work going on, but I feel like, you know, it's just like you said, there hasn't been kind of like a critical mass.
Is Yoneman Studio in Portland?
No, he's back here.
Okay.
Yeah, back in the Bay Area.
So I want to let's walk through your career a little bit. We'll get to up to what we're here to plug, which is Gone Home, but.
Plug it up. That's sweet promo.
You're not here for your health.
No, that's true.
You're here to sell a game,
here for
and
my
that's
health.
fine.
You should be. This is probably actively bad for you.
But I mean this question with all due respect, so I'm already putting you on the defensive. But I know I'm kind of curious. You know, I kind of feel like BioShock 2 doesn't get nearly the same level of respect that the other ones do. Are you resentful of that at all? Like, you know, you worked on BioShock 2, you worked on Minerva's Den, and it's kind of almost, a lot of times in the general core gamer community, almost sort of just an afterthought. When you think of BioShock, you don't think of BioShock 2, you think of 1 and Infinite.
Yeah.
Does that bug you at all?
No, I mean, like...
Because it was a really good game.
Yeah. Like, I don't think... having been there, I was like the 16th employee, something like that. So I was there from pretty early. Yeah. I think they brought out like 7 or 8 transplants from Boston to start it. And I mean, the thing about that project is we were building a team and a game at the same time. You know, it was like a real learning experience.
Yeah, same thing like with 343 and Halo 4 back.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's just this thing of like, they had people who had worked on BioShock, but there was still a big learning process of just how do you make a BioShock game, even if it's a direct sequel, even if it's more BioShock, just how do you do that? How do you make it good? How do you make changes that are worth making, but that don't just make it not BioShock anymore, et cetera, et cetera. And also, yeah, just like building up a team over the course of development. Like, you're learning how to work together with those people while you're making the thing, right? And so I think that, you know, I'm super grateful for people that played BioShock 2. I'm really, really grateful we had the opportunity to make it, and that people that stuck around and checked out Minerva's Den, you know, like, I feel like, if anything, part of why I feel like Minerva's Den was good was because it was what we got to do after we had the development of BioShock 2 to figure out a lot of that stuff. And we were kind of like, okay, we know what we're doing. Like, we've done this in-house. We can do this again on a smaller scale. We have that kind of stability, you know? So anyway, no, I think that like, public perception is what it is. I don't think it's unwarranted. I think BioShock 2 is like an interesting expression of how the team was built and how they built it, you know? And it is like, it's such a weird thing to have been involved with, having worked at both 2K Marin and Irrational, and it's kind of like they were just built by 2 very different studio cultures, you know?
So at the same time, if there is any, if it does stick in your craw at all that BioShock 2 is sort of thought not of in the same breath, it's got to feel good that Minerva's, like, when people think of BioShock 2, they tend to think of, oh yeah, that Minerva's Den DLC was amazing. Like, that's got to feel good.
I'm as noted, I'm very grateful for people that like went out of their way to check it out, because it's like, when you're making DLC for a sequel to a game that like is well regarded and everything, but it didn't have like, relatively speaking, it didn't have like Call of Duty audience numbers or anything, right? So like, you kind of had to work to get to Minerva's Den in the first place. And so yeah, I mean, people that took the time to seek it out and discover it and give it the time of day and like actually follow up, and I'm really, so for a while, because of whatever was going on in the 2009 2010 era, it was only available on PC through Games for Windows Live.
The good old days.
right.
PC gaming.
So it was like it was like, I hope you're playing this on Xbox, because who's loading up games for Windows Live? And so like, I'm really grateful that it finally ended up getting ported to Steam, because now, you know, people can hear Minerva's Den is good, and they can go on Steam and they can get the base game plus Minerva's Den for, I don't know, 15, $20. It goes on sale all the time, etc. So like, I'm just glad it's accessible now, and people can actually like get to it and try it if they want to.
I'm curious, in your career, you know, was there, because again, I feel like Minerva's Den kind of put you personally on the map in the sort of general.
I mean, I'm like, it's all down to the generosity of the people at 2K Marin who let me be the like press face for that project, let me get out in front of people and like try to get the word out, you know.
But on that note though, like, was there, you know, that was clearly a whether or not you saw it at the time, a definitive moment, because then you went on to form Fulbright and you went on to Gone Home, and now, you know, I've seen and played Tacoma, and I'm really excited about what I've seen. We'll get to that. But do you feel like, was there any sort of moment in your career, whether it was during BioShock 2 or sometime prior, that where a light kind of went on for you and you went, yeah, I really like, was there an inner confidence that sort of sparked for you at any point that you thought, yeah, I can make a live, like, I'm good at this, I can do this? Or has it just been a kind of a gradual process and you just sort of like, oh, how did I even get here?
I mean, there's been it has been a building process. You know what I mean? Like, my first job in the industry was, I was a contract certification tester down in San Mateo on PS2
Capcom?
and Vita games.
Oh, for Sony.
For Sony, yeah. I was third-party offline.
Everybody starts in testing, right? That's the dirty secret.
Lots of people don't.
A lot of devs I talk to seem to get their start in QA.
Mean, I think that I think it's a classic story.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, I think not even as common as it used to be. Yeah, I tested the Daxter game for PSP.
Nice.
I was a tester on Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence when they re-released it with the better camera and stuff. So anyway, I went from testing to my first design job was on the second expansion pack for Fear, the first-person shooter.
Okay,
so like, real low budget, not a lot of eyes on it, and then, you know, going from there to BioShock 2 and then the DLC for that. It's been very much like one step at a time, you know, to like build it, like layers on layers of like being able to learn a lot when people aren't looking, and then kind of take it slow, right? But I guess as far as like, so we were making Minerva's Den, as far as the moment goes.
Yeah.
We were making Minerva's Den, and we were really near the end of, you know, having to like close it out, and we were right before content lock, which just means you can't change anything else except fixing bugs.
Yeah.
And I asked our producer, Alyssa Finley, if I could bring a test kit home to do a run through at home over the weekend. Actually, to have my wife run through it, and I would watch, so I could see someone who doesn't play it the way I play it go through it and take notes. And so I was, you know, watching her play. We sat down one night. We played all the way through it in a few hours, four however many hours. I was just taking notes on my notebook, and I was just like, oh, that's broken, that's fucked, oh, god damn. Yeah, and so I like took like 10 pages of notes of like, I need to fix this and change that before we get to content lock, etc. And so I'm sitting next to her on the couch, and so you know, she's to my left, and she's playing, and so we get to the end, you know, and the end of Minerva's Den, you beat the like last boss guy, and then you go down into the main character Porter's lab, and we, you know, put your guns away, and it's a little bit of Gone Home for like three rooms. You just walk around, and there's like photos, and there's an audio diary, and it's all just about that. And so she's listening to the, you know, where she plays the last audio diary where it's like spoilers about how he like tried to bring his wife back,
and then he gets what he thought he wanted, but he didn't want it, and it's kind of like tragic or whatever. So he gets to the
statute
end.
of limitations is up,
Yeah,
by the way.
this
So.
was 2010. Like, sorry. Forget that I said that. If you haven't played it, go play it anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but also go back and play it because
Yeah.
it's really great.
And so, you know, she got to the end. She got through the credits. There's like the monologue at the end, and I'm like, okay. And I look over, and she's just like, and I was like, wait, what? And I'm like, are you crying? She's like, yeah, it's just sad. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So, like, because, you know, like, you want to do a good job. Like, I wanted to make a story that seemed affecting to me, but to be there, sitting there, just taking notes furiously, like, and then realize that something that you put on screen really had this connection with somebody that you care about. And she's not like a hardcore gamer. It's not like she's super fluent in like all of the you know, kind of conventions or whatever. It's just like it got through to her for what it was. And I think that was a moment where I was like, wow, okay, this can like, so we can do something with this.
Do you think was at the moment where you thought, I can go do my own thing? I can do this.
No, it really wasn't, and I think that was a function of time.
Yeah,
and like I mean, like what year it was, and just where I was at in my career. You know what I mean? Because like that was the very end of the first time I was the lead. That was leading other team members, and I was glad that I could inspire some confidence in them by like Minerva's Den being good and getting done on time and all that kind of stuff. But you know, it was 2010. We were really at the beginning, I think, of like indie games and small indie studios being a thing that seemed viable. We were like immediately post Braid and Limbo.
Like Live Arcade was taken off.
Right. Like when I went out to Boston, the summer of 2011 was like when Bastion came out. You know, and so it was sort of like I felt at that point, I don't think we were in this environment where I was thinking like, oh yeah, you can just go off and make your own thing. And B, I don't think like at that point where you just shipped the thing, I don't think that you feel like, all right, now I can like go create my own destiny. You know what I mean? But like during the intervening time between then and when I went out to Boston, when I came back from Boston, it was sort of like, okay, I know I want that small team experience again. I was able to contribute to a bigger project and kind of, you know, work well with people who've been doing this stuff for a long time. I want to go back to our home, as it were, you know, Portland, and just figure out how to make something happen. I did like some contracting for a little, like remote contracting for a little while and stuff, but it's sort of like being there, it was like, well, if I want to keep making the kind of game that I'm good at making, the only way to do it in Portland is just to start a thing. So who can I reach out to? Who can I contact that we could work together to make this happen? And in that intervening time, there had been a lot more indie projects that had come out. There had been Amnesia, you know, there had been et cetera, where you're sort of like, oh, okay, stuff on this scale, you can make it.
Man, Dear Esther's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Dear Esther, 30 Flights of Loving was a big inspiration.
Bless you, Brendan Chung.
Yeah, Brendan Chung is
So did you
amazing,
do the whole thing where you like mortgaged your entire life to start the studio, or were you able to get some, you know, financial?
It was all out of pocket.
Wow.
I mean, because the three of us had, you know, we'd worked in AAA for long enough that we had some savings.
Yeah.
You know, there were points where like our family helped us out to make sure we could keep paying rent. You know, but like it was really just like, yeah, we just cleaned out the money. We were basically like, how much money can we pool together? How long is it going to last us? What can we do in that amount of time? You know?
Does Gone Home? Does the idea for Gone Home come before you're setting up the studio? Like, I've got this idea, I'm ready to build this, or do you just say, you just get out on your own, start Fulbright, and go, okay, what's the game we're gonna make? Well, I'm curious, what's the chicken and egg scenario there?
I guess it was somewhere in between. Like, pardon me. I guess what I knew from the beginning, like before we started, or like when we started talking about potentially doing something, was
spurp it up. It's all good, Steve. Don't worry about it, buddy.
I'll let some farts
just
out
Rick and
too.
Morty
Just
it.
get
Just
it
talk
done.
right through.
But I there was some level of, I knew it was sort of like, we need to make something we know how to make. Like, I'm going to be working with people that we work together on the BioShock series together. It's what I know how to do. It's what I'm interested in. How can we make this like immersive first-person experience that doesn't have a bunch of AI enemies that you have to animate and have them path correctly, and weapon effects and tuning and like all of the traditional
Right.
FPS stuff. But it actually started as a more complicated pitch, like the very first thing that we ever talked about. I don't know if I've actually talked about this before.
Exclusives.
Got them exclusives.
World exclusive.
So the first pitch, it still took place in like a house, but it was like a house of the future that was like basically high level. There was like a kind of like a crazy inventor lived there. And so like the
Marty,
house,
sorry, just bringing it back.
but like the whole house was kind of like computerized.
Yeah.
So like I like System Shock 1 a lot, and System Shock 1 has the full on like Lawnmower Man like VR cyber space sections.
Yeah.
And so the pitch was basically there's a physical house, you go through it, parts of it are locked off by like this computerized system, and there's like little bots that go around and they like will like tase you if you're in a place you're not supposed to be in or whatever. And so you only have access to so much of the house, and you make progress through the house so you can get to a point where you can jack into the like cyberspace network, and you fly around and you do shit in cyberspace that unlocks stuff in the house so you can go further in the house so you can get to more of the cyberspace so you can get to more of the house. And it's sort of like about discovering what's physically in the house and then seeing how the stuff in, you know, the cyberspace layer can affect that and
Yeah,
what
like
you
a
find
real
digitally.
cool Tron game.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, because I think there's a lot of fun stuff there. I like the idea of overlaying a physical and digital space, you know what I mean? Where it's sort of like, okay, I think there's something interesting about like, I have to get through this physical space, and there's a bunch of like defenses or whatever that are like run by the computer system. So I have to sneak past them or figure out how to get around them or, you know, whatever.
them or
And then I
So
get...
you play Pipe Dream.
yes.
Tacoma is already making so much more sense right now.
And then you get past that, and now you can jack into the cyberspace layer and go back and just like disable all of that shit so that you can just explore it freely and then like get further, you know. So that was kind of, I was like, here's this cool idea. And then we were sort of like, no, actually, that's a lot of work. Actually, okay, what if it was just the house thing?
It's not in the future.
Yeah.
It's like in the 80s
yeah.
or 90s.
90s, yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, so it was sort of like, here's my initial pitch. What do we want to work on? Something like this? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, cool. Can we actually do that? What are we really doing? What do we really want to do? And I think that the real motivator became like, we've worked on these BioShock games. We've played games like this where like environmental storytelling and finding audio diaries and stuff is just like a small part of the game. And we think it has the potential to be the whole game. Like, we feel like if we were to just put all of our energy into making, just finding stuff and finding the story and unlocking the environment, exploring the environment, like the heart of the experience, that can support.
And it
this
turns
whole
out you
thing.
were right.
Yeah.
Between,
thankfully,
you know, obviously the reception from Gone Home, but now, you know, things like Firewatch and
Everybody's Gone to the
the Rapture was one of my
Yeah.
favorite games last year.
Yeah.
Still need to play that thing.
Well, and I
on.
mean, stuff like, you know, like Stanley Parable was a contemporary with Gone Home, and then like The Beginner's Guide, I think, is a really interesting continuation of exploring like what else you can do with even less, basically, in that
So-
same
Same thing with like
form.
Dr.
So-
Langstrom and the whatever Tiger
Tiger
Title's
Ruby
so long.
Jewel.
So I just realized
Yeah.
I'm getting a little ahead of myself because I'm a bad host right now because we're here to talk about and promote.
I'm
Gone
a bad
Home
guest
for
right
Xbox.
now. So,
no.
I mean,
It's
always.
I should back up. I'm assuming because we've all played Gone Home, our audience that maybe just exclusively Xbox gaming or console
Right,
gaming, they're not
right.
familiar with the game. So it is a purely narrative-driven first-person game set in this house.
in a house in
So,
90s, like 1994.
Which, so
yeah.
I want to tell
Wait,
you that
1995.
it is Gone Home might be. In fact, no. Gone Home is the scariest non-horror game I've ever played in my life because I'm playing the game. I'm walking through the house. It's dark. You're alone. There's
Yeah.
no one else in the house that you know of, and the whole time I'm just waiting for something to jump out at me. So, F you for that.
I think it's the
was that on purpose? Were you?
It's like the unnerving thing of like having to actually go into a room and go like, all right, where's the light switch, and turn it on.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, the genius of it is that you, like Katie, don't know what's in this house.
Yeah.
Like, it's new to her, it's new to you, and it's not even like I'm expecting the ghosts. right?
It's not new to
well,
her. It's only
so-
new to you.
No.
No, it's a new house for
Katie's
her.
her
She's never
family
been there.
moved into it while she was alive.
Yeah.
That-
So
that's not
you go in
remembering
and it's
right.
not like I'm expecting to turn on a light and there's a monster. I'm just like, I don't know what's here. Like this is foreign and just it's weird to have that sense of voyeurism in a place you've never been.
Was that an
Right.
accidental design victory, or did you guys work that in?
It was 50-50. It
Yeah.
was there are some things that you don't realize the impact they're going to have until people get their hands on it. So like on the one hand, we knew that the like urgency, like the tension of these kinds of games traditionally comes from you got to be on the lookout because a splicer might come in, right? You know, like you're looking around to try to find ammo to defend yourself. And we knew we weren't going to have that. And so we were like, there needs to be this tension of feeling like something's not right here, and that this house like is unnerving. You know, I feel like I need to keep exploring to find out what's going on because something clearly is not like the way it's supposed to be. You know, so like having it be in the middle of the night and having the storm outside and just sort of
The house kind of being isolated.
yeah, right.
The lighting, like you turn on a lamp and it like doesn't light the whole room. 'Cause
Right.
It's just a lamp.
Yeah. And so, you know, we really relied on, like you were saying, that feeling of like, if we can get across that feeling of just how you feel when like you hear a noise downstairs and you go and it's dark in the middle of the night and you're like
Like it's just the house settling.
like,
I know
I
it's
have-
just the house
I have to
settling,
turn on the
but
light.
Something's weird.
but I don't want to. You know, it's like that's going to come across and we can't really get away from it. The real challenge, I think, for us, what we wanted to do was say like, okay, we know you're going to start out this game thinking gonna find a dead body, I'm gonna find whatever, something's gonna jump out, and we kind of had to acknowledge that and diffuse it over the course of the game because like we wanted you to be drawn in at the beginning by like, what am I gonna find that's fucked up, like what happened, you know, was there like a murder or whatever, but by the end for you to just be playing because you care about what happened to the characters, because you're like, okay, I'm not worrying about that stuff anymore, I just want to know, I care about these people now, you know. And so that was why, spoilers, like don't
spoil it for people. They haven't played it.
you know what I'm talking about, though. There's some, you know, like to just sort of like acknowledge like, okay, here's something you thought you were gonna see. It's not that, seriously, you know, and kind of help people get past that and get to the point where I know there are some people that finished the game and they were still like, is there going to be a serial killer in the attic or whatever? But hopefully for more people, it was like you start out scared and then you just kind of intuitively
how
get
it
to
went
the
for
point of like, okay, I'm just in a house, but I got to find out what happened.
I thought it was super telling that like I go to the options and one of the first things is like turn on all the lights first time you play the game.
Yep.
So the two other things I want to cover with Gone Home, then we'll move to Tacoma real quick, and then move on with our actual show.
Yeah.
Number one, the console version of the game that this audience is going to play
Finally has ghosts.
It finally has Chivas.
Yes, achievements. It is running. You're running on a new version of the Unity engine, so
Yeah.
the game looks a little fresher.
Well, so I mean,
at least I don't know. Is it just a performance thing?
yeah, I think it's like what we wanted to do is like. We aren't calling this like remastered or HD or anything. Like we didn't, you know, like the textures are high resolution. We have it running at 60 FPS. Like it feels smooth. It looks good. But we just wanted it to be the best version of the PC game that it possibly could be, as opposed to like, let's go rewrite history. I mean, you know, because it's like, it's a game where the aesthetic of it is just. It's just supposed to feel believable. You know what I mean? It's like we don't want a lot of bells and whistles and for you to be thinking about like, ooh, look how shiny. You know what I mean? And so our feeling was if we can make it look as good as possible and run as well as possible on, you know, the target platform and just make you feel like, okay, I'm playing like a solid version of this thing that
a AAA experience
that my friends have told me is good, or that I've heard about, or I've read about, and now I get to play it on my platform of choice. That's kind of the intent. But you know, upgrading the engine gave us access to some just like performance stability improvements. We went back and fixed some bugs that had shipped on PC that we either hadn't discovered or, you know, were like not very common, but we were like, hey, this is a chance to go back and fix it, etc. But we're just hoping that it's just like, okay, this is like a great version of that game, not like a new, improved, expanded revision of it.
Now with the first expansion pack included.
Yeah.
And this has
there
been
are Chivos though.
This has been a long time coming. This was originally you'd signed a deal with Majesco's indie label Midnight City to bring this console version out much sooner. Midnight City itself kind of fell apart.
Rest
so
in
did
peace.
that cause a lot of internal pain and anguish for you guys? Because I know there could have been money tied. I'm sure there were all sorts of behind the scenes considerations.
No, I mean,
going
the
on.
thing is, like, we are still working with them to get it onto the platforms. I mean, the thing is, like, there's a lot of stuff that we're not even privy to. I mean, there was clearly some organizational stuff that happened within Majesco, and it basically put the project on hiatus for a while.
Yeah.
And so when it became a possibility to take it back out of hiatus and get it back on track, we were like, okay, we're just gonna, like, we brought the port in-house. We got to just like do the work ourselves, make sure it's like what we want it to be before we put it out, and they're helping us get it onto the platforms, get it through certification, all of that kind of good stuff that a publisher can help you with. We're learning a lot in the process, but it was one of those things where it's sort of like, it would have been cool to get it out earlier, but one of the other things that's true is like the fact that we're doing it now means that Unity 5 is much more stable and a lot more viable, and that just makes it more feasible to do the port well and quickly than it would have been if we had tried to be getting it like finaled a year ago or whatever. So it gave us more time to focus on Tacoma. It gave more time for kind of the technology to develop, and we're at a point where I think the version that comes out now is probably going to be, it will probably have benefited from all of the growing pains that have gotten us here.
And it's digital only release, or are you doing a physical release as well?
No, it's just going to be download. Yeah.
Do you want a physical release at any point? Do you care?
Do you want to make one for me?
I'm just curious because
can you do that? Do you guys do that?
We talked about what was it? It was Shovel Knight, I think, that got a physical release,
and then it was canceled.
And then
on Xbox,
the Xbox version of that was canceled due to some issue, something with Microsoft. So I'm kind of curious, from your developer perspective, do you, for your game, do you see a value in, man, it would be nice to be in stores? Like, things are going more and more digital, but or are you just like, I don't care, it's just digital is the way to go? I
mean, like, so we partnered with a company in Germany. Did you know that Germans love boxed games?
They do. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we partnered with a company in Germany that reached out to us.
I learned that from the Double Fine documentary.
I learned it from board game stores. So they reached out to us, and we did a boxed version of the PC release of the game. Those are still available. You can buy them like from our merch page still, and it's like a nice. We worked with them. They designed it. We kind of consulted on it. And it was really cool to have that physical artifact. For us and for fans that are like really want kind of something more, and that's great. But I think that just like getting stuff into retail is a big,
not worth the hassle.
I don't, because it's like, I'm really glad we have those PC versions and it's cool, but like they were only ever officially released in like, I think the UK, Sweden, and Germany or something. Like we imported copies to sell on our web store. They were never released in America. And I think that like console being distributed physically is just like another layer. So it's the kind of thing where I think it would be cool. I also think it would mostly just be like a fun novelty for a small group of like dedicated players. But I think pretty much everybody at this point just kind of wants to go on their console of choice and download the thing and play it.
Because you can't really. I mean, the return on investment can't be that great for a game. Like, how much is it going to be?
And you got to cut the retailer in, right? You got to cut the middleman in on that.
To print the disc, to make the box, to put it in stores, like all of those little fees add up over time, and then you're just not making as much back
the game
on it.
is it next week?
Yep.
Yeah, next week. So what's that going to be? January? What's the actual exact?
13th.
It's the 13th.
Whatever the Tuesday
Xbox.
is. January 13th for Xbox One. PS4 also, right? So we will look for, and it's just on the Xbox digital storefront, of course.
Yeah.
And I guess the last question I have, real quick, I'm totally just monopolizing the show, but you're fascinating to me. So
I find you so interesting.
Can I get that as like a box quote? I'll just make it. Can I make it my Twitter bio?
Yeah.
You're fascinating to me, says IGN.
We'll get the retail release, and we'll put that on the back of the box that we release.
Yes, I like the way you think, Mitch. But
IGN can review Steve Gaynor and include that.
How serious are we being right now?
IGN.com says Steve Gaynor is totally fascinating.
100% serious.
Big fan of this. Big fan of this.
So you mentioned you started with Future Space House, and you get down to the game that shipped that we're going to get on Xbox next week. At what point do you go, we should set this in the 90s? That'd be cool. I'm just because I was born in 1980. I'm 35 years old. I suspect you're close.
Yeah, 82.
Yeah. So you kind of also really came of age in the 90s. Sure. Did you? Where do you make the decision to go? Yeah, the 90s would be cool. Let's set the game there and put all sorts of little cool 90s touches in it, because that's the part of the game, at being my age, that I really appreciated.
Yeah, you love those magic eyes. You love that X-Files poster.
The VHS tapes.
You gotta get that shit. Well, really, it was really a practical decision. I mean, that was something that I think we learned from the BioShock series, is like a ton of I think creative and design decisions in the BioShock series really came down to like, what do the mechanics imply?
Yeah, the fiction's job is to support what you're doing as the player. You know what I mean? And so for us, we started from that point of what you do as the player is explore a place and find bits and pieces of the story that are scattered around and like synthesize them back into what happened in your head, right? And so if we were like, well, you know, a buildable sized space that would support an experience like that could be a family's house, because people live there. There's going to be all this evidence of what's happened to them, etc. But if it happens now, you're just looking for dad's iPhone, I guess.
Yeah.
You know,
why didn't mom just text me to say she won't be able to pick me up?
Exactly.
If you have a cell phone, why don't you just like call the cops or something?
Yeah.
You know, right? And so like for us, we were like, what? But we still wanted to make a game that was set in a time we could remember, and that we could say, we know this feels authentic because we're drawing from our own experience. We aren't like, what were the 1930s like? You know, like, because I mean, that's not impossible, certainly, but it's not going to, especially for a team of our size and the time we had and everything, like, there's a much more direct path to just like, what was in our living room when we were growing up? My dad recorded a lot of movies off of HBO. You know, like, and so our goal was to say, what is like the least amount of time we can rewind the clock to the point where this family might not have had an internet connection at their house.
Yeah.
It might not have had, you know, like a cell phone or whatever. Because then we can say, it's a dark and stormy night, television reception's out, phone lines are down, we don't have to deal with, there's not even a computer. We don't have to say, like, why can't you turn on the computer? Why can't you browse their documents?
AOL is down, you guys.
And so, you know, because what we wanted to be able to do is say, like, you open drawers and you go into people's desks and you find sticky notes and you find letters they've sent each other, and just like all that physicality was really like, you can't really do that in like a modern day kind of like suburban American setting.
And now you have the exact opposite problem with Tacoma, where it's like, oh, we've made our life experience in a game, and now you're doing something on the moon.
I'd also make the argument that like aesthetically, but also emotionally, it has this clarity to it, because like, I don't know, to me personally, as someone who also grew up in the 90s, I'm not quite as, not that you guys are old, but I'm not quite as old as you guys. I'm 29, but
experienced.
Yeah, to me, like, there's something more personable and a little bit more emotionally clear about holding an actual letter or reading a diary, as opposed to reading someone what they wrote on their live journal or something like that. You know,
I think there's something that is, it's weird. You know, it's not something you really think about, but once you get into it, there's like, handwriting has so much of an individual feel to it. You just look at something and you're like, oh, that's something that's in someone's handwriting. That's on a physical piece of paper. I feel like you can feel their presence in a way that is like really unique. You know? So yeah, with Tacoma, I think that the challenge for us is going to be to say, how do we balance digital experience and digital records with physical artifacts, you know, and I think that part of it comes from if you're on a space station, if you're isolated from the Earth, like, you want those physical things. You want somebody to send you something from Earth that feels like relatable. So I think that, you know, there's like this value to the physical stuff having been sent up to the station for a feeling of like, I'm not totally disconnected from the world. Like, my loved one sent me a handwritten, you know, holiday card or letter or something, just so it's like, oh, you know, they could email me anytime, but like getting this from them, it becomes like this important artifact to me. And the other side of it is, you know, we are lucky to be able to expand our scope a little bit to be able to have the like animated characters in the world, and that was something that we, you know, couldn't have in Gone Home.
Yeah.
But the
fictional digital technology in Tacoma allows us to say, like, okay, we can have these kind of like holographic representations of what happened to these people, and you can be in the room with them while it happens, and you can see how they moved and picture what the scene was like when it was really going on, and hear their voices reacting to that, and et cetera, et cetera. And you still have to like project, because it's not like 3D video. It's these kind of, you know, like figures that represent where they were when it was happening. You can hear their voice, you know, you kind of are still projecting like what it would have really been like. But you know, it's sort of that push and pull of the digital, like, augmented reality technology in the game allows us to say, okay, there's not going to be as much handwritten notes. There's not going to be as much. There's not going to be VHS tapes with handwritten labels, but you are going to have the opportunity to feel like, oh man, I feel like I was like there with them while this was happening in a way that I couldn't before.
So Tacoma is your next game. That is going to be an Xbox One console exclusive, correct?
It's also going to come out on Steam and Windows, Mac, Linux at the same time.
So we need to all buy Gone Home first to make sure we have enough money to finish Tacoma.
It wouldn't hurt.
But seriously, though, play Gone Home.
So
it's
Tacoma
really awesome.
is in the same vein. It is a first-person narrative experience.
Right.
I got to play it. He came to San Francisco sometime
in the
last
summer,
fall.
Yeah,
it's got summer already.
Late summer, yeah.
But
time flies.
I really like. So it's funny that you mentioned System Shock 1 now, because now hearing you say that and me having seen the game last summer, that makes a lot of sense, because there are definitely sort of a lot of you're a person alone on a derelict space station, so there are some definite at least situational parallels to System Shock 1.
I mean, I hope it feels like it. I hope it almost feels like it goes full circle, if in a way, you know, because it's like System Shock was what basically started the idea of like an immersive first-person experience where there aren't any other living characters except enemies, and you're finding audio diaries and you're putting that story together. And that led to System Shock 2, which was Irrational's first project, and then BioShock, and I worked on that series, and that kind of like distilling a part of that experience out of BioShock led to Gone Home. And so now our next game is like, we're going back to a space station, but kind of applying that, I think, whole like thread of like examining what those games do back to kind of where the original inspiration came from, which is exciting to me. It's cool. It's like, I'm really glad to have that opportunity to kind of speak directly to that source material with what we've gotten to at the point that we're at. I think also something that's really interesting about System Shock 1. So they just re-released System Shock 1. I don't remember if it had a subtitle.
It's on GOG, right?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. It might not be on Steam yet. I think GOG.com. But yeah, there's a new re-released version of System Shock 1 that can play on modern computers, and it has mouse look. It's like a little bit more accessible, etc. So like it's more playable, plays at higher resolution, etc., etc. And something that's super interesting, speaking of this whole thing, is that in System Shock 1, one of the most interesting things about it is the difficulty setting system. So in System Shock 1, there are 4 types of difficulty. I don't even know if it's called difficulty, but there's like, and they're different categories, and they each have 4 settings. And because Looking Glass was complete nerds, the setting levels are 0 through 3 instead of like 1 through 4. But anyway, so the 4 setting levels, if I remember, are combat, cyberspace, mission, and puzzles. I think puzzles are like rewiring shit or whatever. So like puzzles, pretty straightforward, right? Combat, I get it. But if you set combat to 0, the enemies literally just stand there and don't attack and die in one hit. So System Shock 1 is the original walking simulator.
Yeah.
You can set cyber to 0 and combat to 0, and you just walk around and no one's going to try to kill you.
Wow.
There's nothing that can hurt you. You just walk around and try to find all the audio diaries and figure out how to unlock the doors and complete the mission.
That's the dream.
And so, you know, it's fascinating to me that you could play System Shock 1 in 1994 the way that we think of these narrative exploration games now.
But it's interesting to me that you're saying you're kind of coming full circle, because if I remember right, in the summer when I saw Tacoma, you told me that it's called Tacoma because it was originally going to be set in a house also.
Right. It was going to take place in Tacoma, Washington. So that was why it was called that originally. And then we decided we didn't want to do another house. So we were like, what else could it be? I don't know, space station. So I mean, speaking of my wife, again, like the kind of origin story for that was we were working on the house thing and we were getting along to it, and I was starting to feel like I don't think we should do this again right now, you know what I mean, and just sort of mulling that over. And so my wife and I went on an anniversary trip to Crater Lake in Oregon, which is like, it's a huge volcanic crater that now has a lake in it, and in the middle of the lake is an island called Wizard Island.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to go there.
And so you can take a boat out to Wizard Island and hike around it and everything. So we were hiking on Wizard Island, and I was just kind of talking to her. I was like, man, you know, I feel like we're getting back to the point of doing something that's too close to what we already did. I don't think we want to do this again. I want to set this on something else that just feels like it's not something like what we've done before, like a space station or something. My wife was like, "Oh, space station sounds cool." I'm like, "Okay."
And so, you know, we talked through it and blah blah blah, and then I brought it back to Carla and we talked through it, and you know, et cetera. And it ended up being like, okay, this is like, these are interestingly different enough challenges for us that it
feels worth doing this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. To finish up on Tacoma, I'm one of the reasons I'm interested in, not only because you've proven that you can tell an interesting first-person narrative story, but I like that there's no combat in the game, at least that I'm aware of, but there are interesting little gameplay hooks, like you can play with the gravity in the game, and you can end up walking on walls and ceilings. So it sort of adds an interesting little wrinkle.
Yeah, I mean, we've been continuing to develop the game from that point, and something that you know, that we'll show next time we're showing the game is that we've pushed that forward as well. Not in terms of making that particular system more robust, but after we got to that point, we realized what we really wanted to do. Like, how do I put this? So with the games that we make, like, authenticity is really important, you know, and that's why, like, it really feeling like you're going back 20 years in Gone Home is important. You're like, oh, this feels like the time period. And so we were doing the thing, and we were kind of walking a line of it being kind of like a half measure, you know, of like kind of gravity, kind of not gravity. So at some point we just decided we want to build the station like a long-term habited station would be, which is something much more like 2001, where there's a central hub that's completely gravity free. You can float around, free float entirely, you know, 360 degrees, and then you go out to the far edge and you have Earth-like gravity in the habited sections, and you go back and forth between, not a half measure, between like I'm floating around in zero gravity and I'm walking around in simulated gravity. And that's a big part of the experience, is like feeling how that actually works, because you get to exist through the entire system, you know, of like, oh, when I'm in the middle, I'm floating, and then I go out, and you're kind of like conversant with what I hope is something that feels
much more authentically like how this experience probably would be if you were a person in this situation. Do you know what I mean? And I think that something that is exciting about it to us is, you know, they try to demonstrate that in 2001 and in The Martian, most recently, they had like the habitation ring on the ship that they were doing, and they show the floating to the gravity and so forth. So I'm really excited about the fact that we're going to let the player actually interact with that environment the way you would if you were inhabiting it as an astronaut, as a long-term space
person, resident.
And it has this concreteness to it that I don't think I've really encountered before. So anyway, we're continuing to push on basically what gravity means in the game. But we'll be really excited to show it to people again when we have another big reveal of where the game's at later this year.
Then that last question, because I now naturally have to ask, because VR is on everyone's mind this week. As we record today, we had the Oculus Rift price announcement. $599 US. So obviously, the game is coming to Xbox One, but also you mentioned PC. Mm-hmm. Are you guys contemplating any VR support for Tacoma? No. That's fine. I asked, you answer. That's how it goes.
I did have one more question, if that's okay. Do it. Oh, I didn't want to interrupt what you guys were talking about.
No, that was going to wrap it up.
Okay, cool.
I feel like that was definitive enough.
Yeah. Going back to Gone Home just real quick. Just
ruining my flow, Sean.
I know, sorry.
No, it's fine.
I want it on the record. I think Gone Home is amazing. To me, it has a really, really good emotional
When
clarity.
you're not here, he talks so much crap about it.
Well, I've told the story the last time on Up at Noon when I met you, but like all I knew about Gone Home was that Greg tweeted about it. He was like, "This game's amazing. Go play it right now." And that's all I heard. And I was like, okay, well, Greg said it's amazing, and it's only $20, so I'll go play it. And I played it, and it's amazing.
Don't spoil anything.
But one of the criticisms that I've read when I've recommended this to people or talked to people is that it's not much of a game. And
or you can just say it. It's
not a game.
Right, so that's what I wanted to ask you, is like, it's a little bit more of a philosophical question.
You take offense to that?
If the question is that, or if the premise of the game is that, you're, like you said, you're synthesizing elements of the real world in the game to tell a story, that's something you could do just walking around in real life.
Right.
Through practice of your mind, and that's not a video game. So I guess philosophically to you, like, is that a valid criticism? And then furthermore, like, to you, what is game design, if that is, or if it isn't?
Oh, we're gonna be here all day, Sean.
You've been owning it for 2 years. I've heard you talk about this. You got this.
So the thing is, this is like the digital version of that. This is the video game version of what if you were just in a place and you didn't know what had happened there, and you were just free to go around and see what you could find.
Yeah.
Because there's people have had that experience in life in a lot of places. That's what like archaeology and paleontology is, right? But like also there's plenty of examples of like, oh, this house or this hospital or whatever was like abandoned at some point, and people just come across it and they're like, who are the people that lived here? Who were the people that were being cared for here? Why did it get abandoned? What were the et cetera, et cetera. And it's not a game in terms of like there are ways to score points and win it, but it's interesting. So I'm part of the Idle Thumbs podcast. I used to be on it regularly when I lived in San Francisco, and I try to record with them whenever I come back to San Francisco now. And a few weeks ago, Nick Brecken was talking about how he recently really got into genealogy through like genealogy.com, like online research, and how the process they had for that felt very game-like to him. And it's in that way that you are using your abilities to kind of push forward through all this information and determine what's important and what isn't, and what the important stuff means, and find something else later, and it makes you go back and re-examine something. And it is this it's this sort of abstract puzzle of just like, I'm taking all of this disorganized kind of entropic stuff, and I'm using my own abilities to put it in an order that means something, right? And so I think that the game design part of Gone Home is building the environment and building the experience and giving the player the like abilities that they have to interact with it in a way that they are able to draw that story out of it in a pacing and an order and kind of like an overall holistic experience that feels satisfying, and that makes you feel like I was in control of that experience. Nobody told me explicitly your next mission objective is go here and then go here.
Right.
But I had the ability to say, I want to see what's in the next room. I want to see what's on this note. I just read this note. Does that mean this thing that I saw earlier means something different than I thought it did? And our job as designers is to basically like non-verbally guide you and say like, okay, you can go here. You might want to go here next, and basically make you feel like you've gotten enough of those like road signs and pointers that you never get totally lost, but you're still in control of saying, I want to go here next, I want to explore this thing, I want to delve deeper into what's in these drawers, I want to go back and re-listen to that audio diary because now I've seen more stuff that makes me want to be like, wait, well, didn't you say something about this earlier? And kind of play that role of the investigator, of the detective, of the person who is taking all of this data and making something out of it. Right?
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying it very much is a game because it's designed.
I think that.
I mean, there's a lot of things that are designed that aren't games. You know what I mean? There's a lot of interactive things that are designed that aren't games.
I think that part of what makes it a game is that there's a couple of things. It's that the player has agency within the space.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like you are at every point deciding where you want to go next and what you want to investigate next and what you want to invest with meaning and what you want to say that's not relevant, etc. Right? You're classifying things. You're kind of finding and organizing these things mentally. But also, it's built on a consistent rule set that you can use to plan what you want to do. And it doesn't have to be like a huge plan or anything, right? But there's like these consistent rules of, and it's both the rules of what the player can do and what the world will do. So it's like we make these contracts with the player that are like, you can open any cabinet in this house.
Yeah.
If you see a drawer, you can open the drawer, you know? And so you're like, okay, I can open drawers, I can open cabinets, I can turn lights off and on, I can read, notes and find physics object. Any physics object that's like, smaller than a bread box, I can pick up and rotate it and examine it and put it back down. It doesn't matter whether it's something that the designer says is important, if it's a Kleenex box, or if it's like this one-off super important like artifact of their life. They both work the same way. They both work under the same rule set, and so you can say, I'm going to survey the scene, I'm going to look, I think that this makes me feel like, okay, I could go over there and pick that thing up and see if anything's under it. I know that if a door is open and lights are on in a room, I've already been there and I can track my progress that way. There's this feeling of I'm in control of how I experience this thing based on this focused, consistent set of rules that I've internalized, and I can rely on the game to always kind of like do what it says it's going to do, and therefore I can be effective within that space to fulfill my role of like find everything, put it all the pieces back together, figure everything out. If there's something that has a combination lock on it, the combination's going to be somewhere. And now I'm thinking, where can I look?
Yeah.
How can I?
Yeah, there are goals everywhere.
And sometimes they're very direct. Like the only reason we locked doors in the game was just to organize the experience and say like, okay, the basement is locked. You can't go there yet. We're going to string things out, so you will probably have gone through all of the spaces before you get the basement key. And then when you get the basement key, you're like, the basement key, I should go to the basement. We don't have to have an objective marker that says, now go to the basement. The basement key tells you that, right? And you have a map, you can remind yourself where the basement door is, etc. But, sometimes for us, it was a lot more subtle, where we could rely on people understanding how a house works, like as far as rules go. People understanding what the rules
basement
of the house
is usually
are.
Underneath.
Exactly, and attic is pretty much always on the top.
Yeah.
And so like in the house, there's the west hall, which is like a winding west hall that goes past like Dad's office and the living room. And there's kind of a lot of stuff, and then it dead ends at the locked basement door. And for us, we were like, okay, well if you get here, what are you gonna do next? Because like if I'm a player and I just get to this locked door and I'm at the end of this experience, you probably just kind of feel lost. You're like, I guess I'll just go back the way I don't know, I guess I'll just go back the way I came, because and so I intentionally we wrote a note that we wrote two versions of a note. Initially it was just this on its own, but we wrote a note that was like from Sam to Katie saying, hey, seriously, stop looking around, please don't go in the attic. And I just put it on the table, and Carla played it, and she was like, "That's a little obvious." And I was like, "Okay." And so I literally just scratched out the text and put it, made it a crumpled up note in the garbage can right next to the basement door, and then put the real note there that was just like, "Katie, please stop trying to find stuff. Tell mom and dad I'm sorry," or whatever. And then, so you get to the basement door, you're like, "That's locked." You look in the garbage can, you find this thing, it's like, "Please don't look in the attic." You're like, "The attic, I should go upstairs." You know what I mean? And those kinds of things, I think, are the experience design. They're kind of like thinking, what mindset is the player going to be in? How can we help them feel like they can always have a plan of what I should do next, where I should go next, what else there might be to do here until you get to the end, and hopefully it's satisfying.
So Sean Finnegan, it is a game.
I'm not saying it's not. The reason I wanted to ask is because I came, like, when people ask me, when people tell me, like, well, it's not much of a game, I actually don't have a clear response because I'm not really sure as a player.
If you enjoy it, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, and like,
no, but I mean, like, philosophically, it's a nice thing to explore. Like, what is a game? Like, what does it mean to make a game, Yeah. And as we have a designer here.
Right.
Well, Gone Home, the game or not game, is out on Xbox on next Tuesday. The 12th.
Wednesday, I think. Is it
It's usually Wednesday on Xbox.
I thought they got rid of that since
they?
Live Arcade's dead.
Maybe, I don't know.
Anyway, it's out next week.
Next week.
And
Check
it's
out your Xbox.
it's how much?
Every day.
I think it's going to be the same.
Same
as
$20
on
bucks?
PC, yeah. There's probably going to be a launch discount or whatever, but yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
So we'll look for that. And then Tacoma coming to Xbox One and PC
Later this year.
Yep. And that is another that will fast forward things into the future, a future where Tesla and Virgin have merged into one super company with, from Branson and Musk. So that'll be good times. I guess we should. Can we start the show now?
Yeah, might as well.
Can we start the show?
Wait, we haven't been recording this?
Oh my God! Yeah, I thought it's just the first show back. Steve, you're sitting in for the whole time. You're being very nice. Your PR guy's outside going, "What are they doing in there?"
I set him up on my computer. I was like, "You're going to be bored for a while. You can just play some games."
I just love hanging out and bullshitting.
I thought we would. It's always fun to make some Xbox predictions for the year and then revisit them. Which, like an idiot, I did not write down who kindly tallied them. I'll have to give him credit on next week's show. So,
this is from last year?
This is last year's. Let me recap it
This is
real
gonna be
quick.
embarrassing.
Mitch said, and we score them. Mitch got a point. Destin, 2.5 points. He was our victor for predictions last year. Marty, a point, and me only half a point because my predictions almost always come true. Do not come true, except I correctly predicted the Oculus Rift price, which I'm really sad to have been right about. Anyway.
So half a point is like you got it kind of right?
Like half credit,
Okay,
kind of right.
that's fine.
So
It's like pity
Mitch,
stuff.
you'd predicted that the Xbox would have a very nostalgic year in 2015 with release of a new Battletoads game, a new Viva Pinata, and the Gears of War Marcus Phoenix collection. He better have given you half a point for
didn't that
the
third one
Gears of War
happen?
thing.
Well, what about Rare Replay? That's nostalgic.
Well,
it's not.
and then you
And it
also
has Battletoads in it.
I said new
You
games.
said new.
you also said in 2015 Halo 5 will be announced for Windows 10. No.
Still going to happen.
Riot,
That's my 2016 predictions.
Riot Games will announce a new game in 2015 that will release on Xbox One. Well, they did announce what the heck's it called?
Did Riot announce anything?
No, sorry, I'm thinking of High Res. Never mind. So he gave you a point for the nostalgic with Gears of War Ultimate. We'll get stick with that. Destin got more points for being super generic. This is awful. This is totally awful. I'm banning this for this year if anybody tries it. Microsoft will announce a new AAA IP in 2015.
Good one, dude.
Recore and Sea of Thieves.
I give you 0 points for creativity.
Smite will be a huge success on Xbox One. Another, like, how do you define success? Thanks a lot, Destin. Titanfall 2 will be teased. It was teased, but not actually formally announced, so he gets credit for that. But he was given 2.5 points for this. Fine.
At least take away one of those points.
All right, he still wins because he got 1.5 points.
I grant that he still wins. I would just
feel better about it if it was 1.5.
Yeah, fair enough. Marty said Microsoft will announce a Gears of War Marcus Phoenix collection, and it'll be released this year. Yes,
same as me.
Marcus, the Gears 1
Ultimate Edition.
Microsoft will announce. Marty must have been drunk this day.
No doubt.
Microsoft will announce that Rare is working on a Sonic the Hedgehog game exclusively for Xbox One.
Awesome.
Nice try.
He was just saying shit.
Yeah, that's
If
for
he'd gotten
sure.
that one right, that would have been worth like 5 points.
It would have. Now, this one was a little more realistic. It didn't come true, but he also predicted that Ubisoft's big E3 2015 reveal would be a new Prince of Persia.
He and I have been waiting for that
We
every
did not
year.
get that Prince of Persia game. Marty got a point. So, and then I did really badly. I said
that a 2016?
I think that'll never happen.
Never.
Prince of Persia?
Yeah.
I don't know,
think
man.
AC has totally replaced it.
I agree with Mitch.
Okay.
So I'd predicted that a new Battletoads would be announced in 2015 as a downloadable digital title. Nope.
About these new battles.
We talk about Battletoads on the show a lot because
Phil
it makes
Spencer kept wearing the shirt.
Okay.
He was just
But that was
trolling
Plus,
us.
Marty's like
just-
the biggest Battletoads.
that was just
fan.
Marty.
It's like a rare replay.
But Marty hates them so much. He hates Battletoads.
He'd rather cut off his own
Rats and
pinky.
He's like, they're
Yeah.
gross, their game is stupid, it's not fun, it's pointlessly hard. He hates the Battletoads. So we bring it up all the time. They're not wrong. Yeah.
Man, the fuck out of some Battletoads
yeah,
back
dude.
in my childhood.
Yeah.
I beat the motorcycle level like twice.
That's not
And died on the
possible.
last
That's not
It's
possible.
impossible to beat the
I
actual game.
I
yeah.
stuck to my guns because remember this time last year the arena beta for Halo 5 was going on, and I was very adamant that there would be a second beta to test the large-scale multiplayer.
I still think it's coming.
It never happened. Never happened. So no good. No
was
good
a good
for
one,
me
though.
there. And I also said that the Xbox One Slim would debut in fall with Halo 5. It didn't happen. In fact, one of my 2016 predictions is
How
about the
about
Slim.
that?
So good job, Destin. Even though you're a generic, I hate you. You're
I
not
also
here.
predict that Microsoft will announce a new AAA IP in 2016.
No, you're not allowed to say that. All right, so 2016 predictions. I'm going to go around the room. I'm going to start with Mitch. We'll go round robin. Just give me one, Mitch. What do you think? 2016 Xbox. What's going to happen?
Multiplayer beta for Sea of Thieves in the summer, and then release probably 2017.
Okay, fair enough.
But I think we're going to get a beta of some sorts for that game this year.
We are getting a Crackdown beta in the summer.
Yeah, that's
you think
weird.
We get 2 betas in the summer.
Yes.
All right. I like that. I mean, summer's a good time. There's nothing else out generally. I like the way you
Yeah,
think.
summer vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming you're a teen or young.
Yeah, assuming.
Who's next?
Sean Finnegan.
we're going this way.
You want to go?
Yeah, I think Microsoft is going to get into the VR game with an official partnership with Oculus. They won't develop their own
So
hardware.
they're already doing the theater thing. Like
Right.
you can
Yeah.
watch Xbox games through your PC in a virtual theater.
They've also announced that like the Xbox One controller is like
the official
It comes
controller.
with
Yeah,
it,
it's
every
bundled
controller,
with it.
Yeah, I think that'll be something very similar to that, but it'll have like implementation with Windows 10 and Xbox One.
Okay.
But they've also got HoloLens. Like that seems like what they're going in on.
Right.
I don't know. Well, because like, sorry. So we're working with Xbox on Tacoma.
Yeah.
I don't have any
Which
inside
means you've got
information.
all the
It means I do not have
HoloLens
any scoops.
You would be under so NDA anyway.
No.
It wouldn't matter.
So this is me bullshitting. This is not me knowing anything. But like, maybe I mean, would it? It seems like they might just say like you can stream Xbox One games to your PC and play them on Oculus that way.
well, you
is
sort
that
of
not what
can.
you're saying?
That's
Yeah.
the thing I'm
Because
saying.
that kind of seems like I can imagine that being as far as it
Well,
goes,
it
as
doesn't
opposed
make
to
the-
I can like plug an Oculus into my Xbox.
Yeah, and the
One.
idea is not that the games become VR games. It's that you're literally in a fake movie theater looking at a movie screen.
Right,
it's,
right,
it's
right,
designed
right.
to make
Okay.
it look like it's a
Right.
giant screen, Xbox through your PC, which seems weird to me, but
Not into it at all.
So Sean, I will counter that by saying one of my predictions. I believe that the Xbox will sit out the VR battle at least for this year.
Oh, that's what I read
think-
too. Xbox AR vanishes in 2016.
I think they're gonna. If they do anything, I don't think it's going to be this year. I think they're going to, we just saw Oculus come out with a $600 thing. We'll see what PlayStation does. We'll see what Valve does with the Vive. I think Microsoft hangs back and lets these guys figure out the market first.
I mean, I feel like it would be really smart to do that. If anything, I feel like maybe Xbox is kind of like right on the tail end of the whole Kinect thing, where they were sort of like, okay, we got into Kinect because like motion was a huge thing in 2007, 8,
Yeah.
and then it shipped with Xbox One, and they've just gotten off of the back end of like, actually, we aren't shipping that with Xbox One anymore. Yeah, and so like, it's probably real smart not to try to just get in on like the VR trend.
spend hundreds of millions of dollars
Yeah.
on,
You know, so like,
I mean-
I wouldn't be surprised if
HoloLens is
your
so expensive,
prediction
too.
was right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I said, the prediction I don't think is anything like heavy on the implementation. It's more just like they are smart to partner with Oculus because there's high interest and they're doing really interesting things. And I think that Microsoft will figure out a way to give Oculus devs or people who are interested in the product a way to use it that's unique to the console system or Windows 10.
The cool thing
that's
is,
all I'm saying.
Okay.
at this time next year, one of us is going to get a point. Somebody is going to score a point on this. Steve, have you got an Xbox prediction for 2016?
Steve Scoops Gaynor.
I mean,
up to bat.
I don't. I got no skin in the game because I don't even know if I'm going to be here to get my predictions scored next year.
We'll make sure it's
Fair
on the
point.
list.
Okay, so I might listen to this podcast a year from now
Yeah,
and be
we'll
like,
call
you
you up.
just won.
We'll bring you back for
IGN's
the
prediction of the
2017
year.
predictions.
Okay.
You get a free Oculus Rift. What?
I mean,
can't afford that.
So I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Is this the year when the consoles are going to do like another price drop? Do you think?
For sure.
That might not be a
I
very
hope
sexy
so.
prediction, but I mean,
But I think it's logical.
Didn't both of them already have a price drop like pretty recently?
For the holiday.
that was like
But
Microsoft-
it's stuck for Xbox.
Microsoft's official one, yeah, and then Sony's official one was more recently. It
but
was-
wasn't that last holiday?
Yes.
That was like more than a
you're
year
right.
ago.
No. Well, Microsoft's?
Yeah.
It didn't become official until...
January after the... Because it was that weird thing where they announced it for the holiday.
And then they said it was over.
And then it was
they
for
were
a
like,
week.
just kidding,
Yeah.
it's for real
It's permanent
forever.
now.
Right.
And then Sony cut it right before the Paris Games
Right.
Week thing.
So are they both? Wait,
No,
is
Microsoft's
Xbox is $299
$50
right now, and
$349 or $349 for PS4.
and $299 for Xbox.
I thought it was
Now?
$349 for Xbox as well.
You're right.
Yeah. I
thought they
It
were
was
both the
sale
same
thing.
now.
Okay,
Yeah.
They're both the
so they're
same
both
now. I'm
$350
off.
right now.
I think so.
I don't know. I mean, again, I got no special information here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Xbox One was $299 by holiday of next year. I don't know, just a guess.
Maybe
good.
in-
Pretty
maybe
safe,
Sort
I
of
think,
like
yeah.
in conjunction with the slim version.
Yeah, I'll go.
There's the slim
I'll just go
version, and
next.
The old
'cause-
versions are.
Yeah, I'm going to double down on my Slim thing. And I'll even get a little more detailed. I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but I think we definitely get the Slim this year. I know I said it last year, but definitely this year. And I'll go one step further. I think the Slim will be the centerpiece of a sort of marketing relaunch of Xbox One, where it'll be a new, different-looking box. It's got a brand new OS that looks and runs completely differently.
Bring back those blades.
Connect is gone.
Give me those
man.
blades.
That didn't happen.
I gotta have those blades.
I'm sorry, Steve. I have bad news. I have bad news. But yeah, I mean, new look box, new look OS, no Connect. They'll drop the price. I agree with you. And they've got a pile of fantastic games, and they'll be adding significantly to that pile this year. I think the Slim will sort of be the centerpiece of a sort of effectively a marketing relaunch of the Xbox One. Say like, sort of, here's a do-over. This
Yeah.
is the Xbox One. Check it out. It's amazing.
Well, I think I think that it feels to me like they've worked really hard over the last year or so to get a lot of interesting exclusives. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously,
Like Tacoma.
listen to me talking.
Coming soon
but
from Fulbright Studios.
But like aside from what we were working on, like I think there's a lot of cool stuff. It's like, oh, that's an Xbox. That's an
Cuphead
like, they're re-
Inside.
Yeah,
Oxenfree.
I'm looking forward to Oxenfree and like
Oxenfree's Xbox exclusive?
Yep.
Nice.
Xbox and PC.
Right,
but,
right, console.
And so yeah, I mean, I think that would totally make sense if they're sort of like, hey, since the last time you were listening, look at all these awesome exclusive games we added, and there's a slim form factor, and it's cheaper. You should totally
Yeah.
buy it so you can play all that stuff. Like, and there's this other stuff
And
that's gonna be
backwards
coming out.
compatibility
Right.
is part of that narrative, too.
So, I mean, that seems to make a lot of sense to me. I could imagine that being what Microsoft would like the future to look like. You know what I mean?
it's good. I got the Steve Gaynor stamp of approval on that one.
If that comes true, I get half of that point.
Mitch Dyer, prediction number
Again, I'm going to double down as well. I think this will be the year when Halo 5's DLC stuff is complete, like when all the maps are out. I think it will come to Windows 10. I think that's
fair.
going to be
Okay.
this will be the
Fair
year that I think
prediction.
Microsoft starts making a little bit more parity between PC and Xbox.
2. They just got done saying, like, this week
Yeah.
that Recore would also be coming
Right.
to
Yep.
PC.
Also, we've spoken with Phil a bunch of times where he said like that's one of his goals is to bring more parity between PC and
Yeah.
Xbox.
Yep.
But he just said that philosophically. He didn't have any examples.
Right, and they haven't
I
done
still think
anything.
he'll
Halo
never
Wars
see-
2 is coming to PC simultaneously.
Yes.
I don't know if they've said anything about Crackdown 3, but I would suspect that's going to be... That would also be a logical candidate.
I think I've been saying for a while, since like last year's prediction, is that Quantum Break would be the one when Quantum Break was supposed to come out last year. That Quantum Break would be the first one where it's like, all right, starting now, PC and Xbox same time release
that
for
one would
every
make a lot
first
of
party game.
sense.
But
I still
Halo
don't
5
think you'll
coming
see
to
Halo
PC.
on PC.
Has Quantum Break been announced for Windows 10, or is it
I don't
still
think
just
so. No,
only
it's just
console
Xbox.
exclusive?
Yeah. Sean?
Yeah.
Prediction number 2?
This one is just total nonsense, but I think you'll see the return of Summer of Arcade. But it won't be called Summer of Arcade. It'll be just
Well,
like a seasonal, temporary, huge promotion
Yeah.
of games you wouldn't otherwise see
They
promoted on Xbox.
I mean,
Kinda did
digital
that
only
with the
right? games, right?
You know, they had the summer spotlight this past year, so they
Right.
kind of. But yeah,
But you know what I mean? Like a huge,
Yeah.
like the Xbox version of the Steam summer or winter sales, like that, like where
Well-
a bunch of games are on discount. You use your big games like Cuphead or
Inside.
or
Yeah.
Limbo or any
Tacoma.
of the other big ones to like headline and be like, hey, these are some awesome indie games.
Yeah.
Check out all these other indie games that are also awesome. They're all discounted.
So
type
want your
thing.
prediction to be correct.
I would love
Yeah.
that.
Also, Summer of Games is just a good name.
Totally.
Bring it back.
I mean, we've said this on the show a bunch of times, but like that first week of June, second week of June, E3 hits. There's all this hype around the games that are being announced and
Right.
just the industry in general, and everyone wants to go home and play games. And last year we had a few big releases like right
Batman.
after and right before, but other than that, like. You kind of want to just go play games because you're amped about games, and that's a really good time to be like, hey,
Well, it's
here's
really
a
appealing
$5
to-
or $10
to-
game,
That would be a badass thing to do at like the E3 press show. Would just be like the summer of games. It
starts now. Yeah,
Xbox and summer of games. Like
that would
Yeah.
be super
Nice.
cool.
I can see something like that really making.
There's something really appealing about the idea of like, oh, it's the summer, there's no games. No, just kidding. Here's 5 really great games, one a week.
and they're all like $5 or something.
Yeah, be like, hey, we've been showing you Cuphead for a while. Boom, go home and play it.
Right.
Yeah,
Finally.
totally. That's my second one.
Nice. I like that one. Steve, you got
like
anything
it.
else? You got another one for us?
So I think that there's definitely going to be a new Battletoads game.
My man!
Marty would punch
Suck
you.
it, Marty.
Awesome.
For my third and final one, this is what I think is the easiest no-brainer prediction. I think we're finally going to get the Shadow Complex 2 announcement this year.
Ooh.
From Chair?
Chair they just re-released the original. It's coming to Xbox One and PS4. It's out now for free on PC. Why the hell would you do that unless you were trying to re-drum up interest in the franchise for a sequel?
That's a good
I think this is the year. I'm not saying it'll be exclusive. In fact, it'd probably be silly
not.
for it to. It should, of course, be on both platforms. But I think this is the year we finally get Shadow Complex 2, which we've been waiting like 8 years for. So that's my third and
Love that.
final.
You don't think it'll be on
Love
the
that.
third platform Wii U?
No. My third and final. Well, fine. If they okay, they can have it. What? It's the NX is going to get announced probably at E3, right?
That's true.
The Wii U's not even.
You really think so? Is that an Xbox? I
That
mean,
is
not
not
an
an
Xbox
Xbox
prediction, but
Well, I don't know. That all the buzz has been.
Even if the
2016
NX
's
got
the year.
announced at E3, it probably wouldn't be out until.
Till 2017.
Yeah.
You think so?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think it would probably be. I think it would probably be 2017. I, don't think it would be holiday.
I think because of
2016 if
Zelda
they
on Wii
announced
U,
it.
I don't think they
See,
want
I
to
think Zelda's
cloud
going to move to. Welcome to Nintendo Voice Chat.
Yeah, it'll
I
be a
think-
Twilight Princess
I think-
situation.
Well, if they just say forget the Wii U version entirely, and they've just moved it over to NX.
but they've
That
been
would be so
deading it
ice
for-
cold.
Yeah.
But it probably would be like the whole Wii GameCube thing for Twilight
Yeah.
Princess.
Anyway. So yeah, I think Shadow. This is the year 2016. Shadow Complex 2 finally becomes a real thing.
Okay.
Sean,
Oh,
you got one more?
I do. This one's about Overwatch. I think it'll be massive for Xbox One, and specifically
What kind of?
Xbox
That's a
One.
destined prediction.
No, okay,
I
that's what I
think
mean. It's
you
like
You need to.
are-
You need to.
I think that
define
there will
this.
be a AAA IP that will do great for Microsoft
So yeah,
in 2016.
I realize that it's impossible to say like what huge means, but what I actually mean to say is that I think it'll drive console sales. Like that game.
I think you're crazy.
That's also still not quantifiable. That's not a prediction.
But like, if you see an uptick in console sales as a result of
How do you know that's the
Overwatch,
result?
Because
That's
we can-
correlation, not causation, my friend.
Still,
This is logic chat
you
on
can't pull any of this
IGN.com
from
right
Steve
now.
Gaynor.
okay, I get that. It's a little bit of a weak prediction, but I
He's
don't
calling
think
you out.
Okay,
boy.
so here's a question: do you think there will be an Overwatch bundle?
There we go. Now that's a real man's prediction.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, his prediction is there will not be an Overwatch bundle.
Yeah,
You're gonna
there
get
will
owned.
not be an Overwatch bundle.
He's
Okay,
got
bold.
98% odds of that being correct.
I think he's got 0% now. It's Overwatch bundle.
Coming soon.
No, that'll never
Scoops
happen.
Gaynor.
Microsoft will only bundle like their exclusives with it. It's not a Microsoft
Tacoma
game
bundle,
or-
son. Yeah.
You mean like the
Overwatch-
Rainbow Six Siege bundle that just got announced?
Oh, is there really
Yeah,
a Rainbow Six?
we're gonna
bundle?
cover that.
Is,
Oh,
there
is,
you go.
is Overwatch not an Xbox One exclusive? Console
It's on
exclusive?
every. It's on.
Yeah, it's
every-
on,
every-
it's on
all right, all right.
consoles.
Well, then
and
you're
it's
right
also
that
a
it won't.
primarily PC game. But
Yeah.
what I mean is like the announcement of it coming to consoles was really huge because it's Blizzard's like first
Yeah.
major foray onto the console platform.
Wrong. Diablo 3.
But it was
First
like
major,
that came
major,
so
like-
late. This is like day and date
Yeah,
PC
for sure.
and console.
That is
And that was like after, that's like the expansion version, like the Ultimate
After
Evil,
Evil.
collection was Reaper
Yeah.
of Souls with the extra
Right.
act and stuff. Like, and
Okay,
it's, yeah.
well then predict a bundle. Quantum Break bundle.
But that's so like because there's gonna be a Gears 4 bundle.
Yeah,
like,
Gears
that's
4
so,
bundle.
It's so obvious.
You'll probably see a Quantum Break bundle.
Oh, that's a prediction because nope, that ain't happening.
Well,
think so.
predict it. Predict it.
I want an
me something,
Overwatch
Sean.
prediction, though.
Oh,
All right, give me
okay.
a-
Okay, can you?
How about you want
Master Chief skins in Overwatch. Come on, Sean, we're handing these to you.
I think
We're running out of
hold on,
show.
let's be a little bit more specific. I think
It's an hour and 20 minutes of this.
I
Jesus,
think-
we haven't even got to the news.
Overwatch will
Sorry.
bring a rejuvenated esports interest on Xbox.
No way.
Can't quantify
No.
that. That's not a prediction.
If you see it in like MLG or some shit, then totally.
Okay, are
don't
you gonna
think you
say
will.
Overwatch on Xbox One is gonna be an MLG? That's a prediction.
No, it will not,
Well-
because MLG does not exist anymore.
Activision just
Or
bought
whatever,
MLG.
yeah.
We'll cover that.
Activision Blizzard.
Yeah,
They own MLG.
Synergy.
They own the game.
they'll put it in there. It'll only be Activision Blizzard. games.
Steveception.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's a pretty good prediction.
All right.
I mean, maybe
Fine,
you guys
whatever.
don't think it's a
I
good
don't know.
prediction. It's fine.
I just want to get out of
I,
here.
I don't even care anymore. All right, those are our Xbox predictions for 2016. Send yours in. Unlocked at IGN.com. Maybe we'll read some on next week's show in the event we don't completely forget, which is entirely possible. We'll come right back. Finally, we're going to take a break.
Good intro segment,
Good
guys.
Good intro segment. We'll come right back, do some news, and I promise maybe we'll try to keep this under 2 hours. It's time for
We did it,
news.
everyone. We got water. We got a break.
It's the second episode of the first episode.
I mean, I feel
Of the
all
new
warmed
year.
up now.
Yeah, you ready to go? You got a fresh glass of water, an empty bladder. Steve Gaynor, Fulbright. Good to have you, sir.
Thank you so much.
It's good to have you here. So let's talk about some Xbox news. We do have some to start the year, and that's the first top story, I think, is Scalebound being pushed to 2017, therefore making it possibly the earliest IGN first we've done yet. This was our,
Yeah, good
this
job,
was our
everybody.
IGN first cover story game for August 2015,
Ooh.
and we'll see. The game's 2017. They just gave the usual, we wanted to make it the best thing we can make it thing, which I'm 100% for.
I think this was expected. I mean, I certainly expected it.
There's already like way too many exclusives and interesting, cool third-party games that are
I
sort
mean,
of
they
filling
got
out the
it, and
year.
they got the announcement out there early. It's clearly
Yeah.
very intentional if they're like a year ahead of time.
Yes.
But
you
like
know.
even when they showed it at Gamescom, I was like, it looks really cool, it looks awesome, but it definitely didn't run all that well. And like,
Right.
it's probably just a lot of optimization going into that game.
So my thing is, the reason I agree that this makes sense, because you got to look. I'm going to talk about this in a second, but Microsoft has a massive pile of exclusive first-party exclusives this year, and they've in trying to you want to slot them all intelligently so they're not stepping on each other. So you got to figure they've probably learned their lesson about releasing AAA new IPs in the fourth quarter. Sunset Overdrive, amazing game, seemingly didn't do that great. We've seen it over the years, time and again. Because I think the fourth quarter, that's the franchise time. You leave that for franchise time.
Gears and
Because it's
the
basically
Forzas
like
and the-
people just want to buy stuff that they're
That
sure
they know.
about, and
Yeah.
then when there's nothing else coming out, they're like,
Yeah.
"I'll give that other thing a shot." Okay.
Therefore, I think that basically rules out Scalebound for the fourth quarter. Therefore, Microsoft had to go to Platinum and go, okay, well, can we get this out in August? Will you guys be ready? And they must have said nope. So then, therefore, okay, 2017 it is.
That'll be like a real cool February game, like
Well,
everything else is this year.
I agree. Yeah, I think Scalebound being new and different. It's an action RPG with dragons. I mean, it looks awesome. It does seem like the perfect kind of January, February get that first mover advantage, right? When people are first looking for something after the new year, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, you kind of laid out like.
Everybody just silently agrees.
I mean,
Indeed, yes.
when you're right, you're right.
Well,
We've seen that happen before, right?
Steve, you can stay. I like you.
See you, Destin.
like wasn't Last of Us and like Mass Effect 3, like those are both May releases, right? Or like
Mass Effect 2 came
2.
out in January.
There you
remember?
go.
And
Yeah.
Mass Effect 3 was March.
Oh yeah, because I played through that
just
like
Q1 though,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yep.
before E3.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's not as if a big game can't succeed in that time period, especially because, like you said, there's less big games to compete with it then.
Yeah. But also, I mean, this year, Bloodborne came out in February.
Right.
Correct.
And that similar is
That's
kind
a
of like,
Game of the
okay,
Year
this
nominee.
is
Yeah.
this is a chance to put this in front of people when they're looking for something.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So so I went deeper into this.
But that is interesting because like Uncharted 4 is coming out
April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a lot earlier, too. They delayed it twice.
Right, it was going to be fall of this past
Yeah.
year, and then it was March, and then now it's April.
Check out this cool PlayStation podcast I'm on. Sorry. Anyway, you were saying.
First, we're just running the full spectrum for this to start the year. First, Nintendo voice chat. And
We're actually we're just gonna roll this straight into Overclocked at 2:30. We're not gonna stop recording.
Oh man, but I took my best shot. Steve, tell me what you think.
Yeah.
And everybody else tell me what you think. My best shot, I'm trying to logically schedule the first party games for Xbox for this year. So Q1, we had Nathan Vella on the show. He told us at the time they weren't going to make 2015. I think first quarter, I'm not going to get so specific with months because that's almost impossible. But
I think March 23rd.
and then I'm just right on all of them. Like, whoa, what leaked internal memo did he get? No, I think first quarter below. I think it's going to happen. Nathan, you and Cappy are going to come through for us. Cuphead. It's just been a development for so long. I think maybe we finally see that in maybe March, and then we already know Microsoft has said March we'll get Killer Instinct Season 3. So that one's fairly locked in.
How do you define first party here? Because I'm thinking of like the game Adrift with a 1. Does that count, or is that?
That's on PS4 also.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought of that as being an
PSVR.
Xbox One PC. So I guess what I'm saying is, are you counting Xbox One and PC titles, or just like Xbox One, Xbox One? only?
First party, so
Okay.
Microsoft published.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, okay. So, but that wouldn't count. Sorry, Cuphead is an ID at Xbox title, which means
but it's not coming out.
Just trying to figure out if it was because Microsoft only publishes like a kind of small number of things, but they do have like a lot of like ID at Xbox
games that are associated as only
right.
Xbox.
Xbox console exclusives.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
So second quarter, we already know we've got Quantum Break on April 6th. I'm stoked for that. I think we get Inside in the second quarter finally.
Good.
And Fable Legends, which quietly said, our beta's going to take a little longer. We'll see you in the spring. So I think that's finally when we'll see Fable Legends.
Not even convinced that game's real. It's been like
I've
3.5
played it a few
years.
times, but third quarter, which would be July, August, September. I think we could see Sea of Thieves then, although honestly, I kind of figured that's the best candidate to get delayed to 2017.
Yeah,
but
me
I
too.
so want it out.
Me too.
Forza Horizon 3, which is of course unannounced, but Forza has been going like clockwork for the last several years.
I still have a weird theory that they're going to do a third
franchise.
That
It
will
could
be
happen.
this year.
It could happen.
Fast and Furious.
Either way, it's Playground's year, unless, as you say, they bring in a third developer and give Turn 10 and Playground some more time on their stuff. And then I think Recore in Q3 as well could happen. And then fourth quarter, like I alluded to a minute ago, I think I'll even get a little more specific with this one. I think we go Halo Wars 2 Crackdown 3 in September, Halo Wars 2 in October, and Gears of War 4 in November. That's sequel time. That's franchise time.
Okay.
So that's how I'm laying it out. I'm sure one or two of those will get delayed out of the year entirely, and I'm sure I'll be completely wrong on the rest. But that's what January podcasts are for.
Yeah, predictions abound and incorrect.
Most especially
completely incorrect suppositions.
Yeah.
And they're recorded for posterity for all time for people to go back and go, look how wrong he was. It was great.
What a time to be alive.
Next up, this was a big one. Our friends at Kotaku once again spoiling Assassin's Creed. The reveal of it anyway. The game codenamed Assassin's Creed Empire has been outed by Kotaku, who's outed the last 3? At least 3, if not 4.
Since Black Flag, I think.
Didn't they out Assassin's Creed 3 as well?
I can't remember.
Anyway.
That was the past.
Noted outer of Assassin's Creed games, Kotaku, has outed the...
Assassin'sCreedOuter.com redirects to Kotaku now.
It should. Assassin's Creed Empire set in ancient Egypt. That could be cool.
I'd climb a pyramid.
Me too. Come on, punch a mummy.
Yeah.
Stab a pharaoh.
The Sphinx is still gonna have a nose.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
you
true.
probably knock it off. You can cut it off with your cool assassin knife.
That's fucked up.
So that is not the real surprise here that there's an Assassin's Creed game. The real surprise is that it is not coming out this year. 2017 game. They're finally taking a year off from the
So this'll be
mainline
the
Assassin's
first-
Creed game.
Wait, how many years in a row has Assassin's Creed made it
There
a
was
year?
Since
there wa-
09.
There was time between 1 and 2.
Right.
Those were not annual, but
But
ever
it was like
since
18 months.
it went
Right.
2,
Right.
and then Revelations, Brotherhood, or the other way
Brotherhood,
around.
Revelations.
Whatever. And then 3.
Very
and
adamant
then
about my
and then
AC
Unity.
Black Flag
Oh, Black Flag, then Unity.
Then Unity.
Also,
Then
Rogue came out the same day as Black Flag.
for old gen consoles. Yes.
Yeah, or was it Unity?
That was
Black Flag.
whatever.
Where did it come
Sounds like
out?
somebody's talking about Assassin's Creed to me. A lot of them.
I can't handle
They're all
it.
over the place.
Can you guys think of any other time in modern gaming history where there's been an annualized game franchise that suddenly said, "No more annualization. We're gonna take some time."
I mean, there
off."
aren't that many,
it's
really,
not a
right?
lot.
I mean, there's COD.
Call of Duty,
Sure.
Skylanders, anything Activision
Skylanders.
makes.
Okay.
What else?
EA Sports.
The sports titles,
Right.
certainly.
Well, like you pointed out, there's a couple like Guitar Hero or Tony Hawk that were annual until they weren't
Yeah, yeah.
anymore.
Until
But
they
that's not
died.
really what you're talking about. Like, okay, we're just gonna take this next one's gonna be an extra year.
Yeah.
And then it'll be back. I mean, I guess that's the thing. They aren't necessarily saying that they're even going to go back to strict annualization after this one.
Yeah, it could
Maybe
be
it's
every
going to be
2
every
years.
2 years.
Sure.
I don't know.
I once asked Peter Moore what it would take to delay a FIFA game, and his response was verbatim: "Wash your mouth out."
That's amazing.
That's because that's like he loves
It's
soccer
so close to
much.
him, yeah, of course.
It's just no way.
And he was like so shocked. Like, no.
I love that. But yeah,
amazing.
what do you guys think? Assassin's Creed Egypt? That's cool, right?
I mean,
This is like biblical era stuff.
I don't think that there's ever been
Yeah,
a
Jerusalem,
setting
I
that I've
guess.
not been like interested in when it comes to AC. Like they always choose stuff that's really interesting, like in terms of setting and tone and all that. That said, I don't know. I mean, to me, that's even more Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, right? Because of the setting.
I'm going to do a Q4 2018 prediction. That'll be when the feudal Japan one finally comes out.
you think
That's
they
the
are
Assassin's
ever
Creed I
gonna
want
do
to
it?
play.
Yeah.
Everyone has always wanted that, and they're so adamant. Like, no, we're never going to do it. We're never going to do it. They're going to do it. Right.
Why wouldn't they do
They're
it?
going to do it.
They just don't like it? It's cool.
It's super.
When they get to the bottom of the well, they're like, "What's
Yeah.
still down here? Oh, the feudal thing. Let's pull that out."
I don't know.
I hope it's ancient Egypt and then feudal Japan.
I hope the feudal Japan game is just a Tenchu game.
Basic. I mean,
all
more
I
or
need.
less, right? Yeah.
Give me that grappling hook to go back up on the roofs like you have in the Syndicate. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kotaku says in their report here that they cite that the decision from their sources, the decision was made after Unity, and to not do something in 2016, and that is sort of if that's when the decision was made, it's sort of proven out correct in the sense of Syndicate did not do well relative. It did not chart well either in October or in November. We're waiting for December NPD. And yeah,
And it was probably I think it was my favorite Assassin's Creed that's come out for a long time.
Yeah, people
and
said
a
it was,
lot of
like,
people have said that.
very much better. Well,
But-
there was a lot of problems with Unity.
Right, people got burned by Unity, and there's the franchise fatigue element. I mean,
At some point, there's only so much. There's only so much of any franchise you can.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not necessarily true, I guess. But at some point, you can't just have the same meal every day forever.
as both
Yeah.
from a development side, Steve, would you throw yourself off the Golden Gate Bridge before working on an annual thing? And then, as from a gamer perspective, how do you feel? Do you find yourself getting tired of annual releases, even in franchises that are really good?
Can you imagine having just launched Gone Home 3?
Well, I mean, so from the development standpoint,
Could
that's kind
the
of.
E in
Houses
home
just
be a
get
three?
The houses just get way bigger.
Well, I mean, that's the interesting thing from a development standpoint is
Gone
even
Home, guest wing.
even people who are working on an annual series, they're not working on an annual game. Like your team is
Right.
working on a 2 or 3 year
Right,
game. They're
right.
just scheduled so they come out every year. That said, there are definitely people who are like, they go from 2 years on whichever annualized game they're on to 2 more years on the next annualized game that's going to come out after the next one. And like, you can definitely be working on the same thing forever. You know, if you stay at a place that it's like, we're the XYZ studio, we're the Skylanders studio, you know? Like, I guess I don't really know. It depends on what you're working on. I mean, I feel like on some level, kind of the ideal thing is to actually find something that you would be happy working on every year for your career. Like, you know, like if you were at Toys for Bob and you were like, man, I love making Skylanders. If I could just make the Skylanders for the rest of my career, that would be awesome. Great.
Boom, do it.
You're good to go. I mean, maybe not for... Skylanders might not be around in 30 years, right?
Sure.
But I mean, like, for the foreseeable future.
Bobby
like,
Kotick says, shut your mouth.
Wash your mouth out.
But, like, you know, so I'm saying, like, if you find a project that it's like, man, I love working on this,
Yeah.
and you have the opportunity to just work on it year after year, like, that sounds pretty great, you know? But I think it's hard to find that match. I think it runs out at some point, you know, no matter how much you like the thing that you're working on. But, like, from my own perspective, you know, I worked on BioShock 2, and then a lot of people at the end of that project at 2K Marin, I think, were really eager to like not be working on BioShock anymore. You know, they were like, okay, we're excited to like work on XCOM because it's something else, you know? And like, I don't know, I was with a mindset where I was like, no, I want to make DLC for BioShock 2. And then we finished the DLC and I was like, huh, we're not making BioShock stuff here anymore. I should go to that studio that's making more BioShock stuff. You know, so like maybe I am of the mindset of like, there's a certain amount of like, it's great to be able to really work on something for long enough to feel like you have a grasp on it and you can be honing your ability to make it great.
Right.
So, I don't know. Pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
Job security, I guess.
Depends.
That, yeah.
All right. Next up, some good sales news on the Xbox front. Halo 5, Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, of course, Forza 6, and Gears Ultimate, all exceeding 1 million units sold. That's always a great barometer for success.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of people were like, that means Halo 5 bombed because 1 million is crap for Halo. Well, they all sold at least 1 million. They're just, you know, Microsoft has weirdly not been giving specific sales numbers for anything anymore. So I think we can confidently say that Halo 5 is well north of 1 million.
It's just interesting to me that none of these, like clearly none of these are 2 million.
Why not?
Well,
because it's a
about
weird
that.
statistic to give to say this group of games got 1 million sales.
It sounds like what they're trying to do is group them all together so that they can just say
The
one
fall
good
lineup.
thing about
Successful.
all of them.
yeah.
Could be.
That's what
Like,
I
it
think,
kind of
too.
feels like they're, if anything, it almost feels like a lowest common denominator thing where it's
Yeah.
like, what's the
Yeah.
best thing we can say about all of these
Right.
at
Right.
the same time?
Well, and to that exact
They're always
point,
so vague about it, though. It's
Yeah.
so
I
it's
mean,
just
I'm
a weird
sure,
way
yeah.
to do it.
yeah, to that exact point, Steve, because that's, you know, Halo 5, no surprise. Tomb Raider, not a surprise, and good news, too, because we're all, you know, like, oh, God, it's the same day as Fallout. Gears Ultimate, that's, you know, it's good to see still plenty of interest in Gears.
Yeah.
Forza's the one, I mean, Forza's so great every year, but, like, that's the one where I'm like, oh, good, it got to 1 million because it is so good, but it's also a game that I've said this before, I think Forza's biggest problem is that it has no problems. It's just like, it's awesome every year.
Here you
Turn
go.
10 in Playground, knock it out of the park every year. So it's almost like there's just it has no adversity and no, like, there's just no narrative.
No expectations.
It's
There's
just
no
like,
excitement.
well, yeah, it's going to be great. Sure, whatever. And then, so it's good to see that.
But that makes it sort of like a sports, like a good sports title, right? Where
Yeah.
it's sort of like, I want more FIFA or Madden or whatever because I just know it's going to be good when
Yeah.
I get it, right? That's not really a bad thing.
No,
it's maybe not
definitely not. It's not a
interesting.
bad thing,
It's not
but
that
yeah, it's
interesting
just
to
kinda like-
write about or something. But I mean,
I guess
it's
what
good
I'm-
for people that like the game.
The point I'm getting at is no one, for as good as Forza is every year, nobody in the sort of core gaming circle really talks about it.
Yeah.
Because they just
I think that's
get it, they just buy it and enjoy it. But
Right.
nobody really, you know, nobody's starting Forza threads and nobody's tweeting about Forza.
Somebody's starting a Forza thread, but like
It's Ryan.
but
It's Luke Riley.
But like, yeah, to be fair, it's sort of like it has its audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I'm
like-
glad to see that audience is a healthy audience enough to
Yeah.
get it past 1 million sales again.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like I was about to say racing's kind of niche, although I'm not sure that's true. But like,
I think Need for
Forza
Speed did pretty well too.
Yeah, well, I mean, there isn't like at least in my mind, there isn't this idea that racing games, any racing game, is like a big AAA blockbuster title like a Halo or a Gears of War or something like that. So to see a copy,
Gran Turismo has been in the past
on the
That's true.
PlayStation side, but even the most recent one was like, okay, it's good.
So to see a game like that hit $1 million, that's a good measure. For
Yeah, and I'll say with Tomb Raider, it's just I hope it continues to do well. The PC version was announced for January 28th, and then the PS4 version's in the fall, of course. I will say we haven't revealed our Game of the Year results, our overall Game of the Year results. Those will be coming on Friday. I will reveal my ballot, though. I will tell you I voted for Rise of the Tomb Raider as IGN's Game of the Year.
As did I.
We'll see what wins. We'll tell you on next week's show if you don't already see it before then, but... Yeah, I'm very glad to see Tomb Raider do well, and I hope people continue to buy it on other platforms because it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's just about to come out on PC as well, right?
Yep.
So yeah,
and
that'll be great.
end of the month.
Well.
Right.
It'll end
PS4
up selling really
late
well.
this
In the
year.
fall.
Late this year. 2016 prediction. They totally are going to do a season 2.
Oh, that
pass
should have been
for
my
Tomb Raider.
prediction.
Oh, to line it up with the
Yep.
PS4 release.
Yep.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. 2 new Xbox One bundles were announced. They're keeping the bundle train rolling. You got a Rainbow Six Siege bundle that'll get you a 1 terabyte hard drive in the console, plus Rainbow Six Siege, and then you also get Rainbow Six Vegas 1 and 2 for 360 as backwards compatible games. That's a $400 console bundle. And then there is a Name Your Game bundle, but it's only the 500 gig console for $350, but you get to choose from Forza 6, Gears Ultimate, Tomb Raider, or Rare Replay.
Is that Rise or is that Tomb Raider?
Rise of. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just...
Always got to clarify.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that would be a good. That would certainly be a good opportunity to pick it up if you're like, oh, I've been wanting to play that. Like Tomb Raider is sort of like the newest, most I think kind of like whatever
Xbox-y
interesting
game.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're looking at that and you're like, huh,
that one would make the best gift too, because then your recipient could just choose to download whichever one they want.
Yeah.
I will say that Rare Replay is great, but if you buy this bundle, don't choose Rare Replay because its monetary value is less. The other games here are $60 games.
Right.
Rare Replay is not. So pick one of the other ones and then just buy Rare Replay.
Which is totally
Don't
worth it.
cheat
Game is
yourself.
awesome. Rare Replay is so good.
Mitch, I think you mentioned it earlier, or maybe it was even Steve. Activision
Everybody was screaming about it.
bought Major League Gaming. Said, we own you now.
$46 million. No, actually,
much?
46. Actually, not that much.
Drop in the bucket compared to the $5 billion that they paid for King, the Candy Crush
Crazy
people.
to me.
So this is a weird thing, and I haven't kept up entirely with it, but it is such a weird deal where like Activision is now going to be in charge of a Counter-Strike tournament, and then it's not entirely clear if they're going to be, because EA talked about they're going to be doing that. EA will host tournaments and won't necessarily always be for EA games, but I don't know if Activision will. I think they might just kind of let MLG run its course for the year and then get rid of it and start their own thing. Like, I don't know that the MLG brand means anything to people anymore.
Interesting.
Except the players.
If you take a look at like the Call of Duty championships, which are really huge, but just for Call of Duty, like I think they mean to use MLG's infrastructure to kind of help facilitate Call of Duty.
And
I don't know if they may continue because MLG runs tournaments they'll select like 4 games.
Is
per
Halo
major, right?
in MLG? Are they with MLG?
No.
They used to be, and then HTS kind of took it away.
That's
I think.
right. That's right.
What about
They decided to bring it in-house.
Activision publishes Destiny, don't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
They're going to start doing competitive
Well,
Destiny.
it's not really an
Guaranteed.
esports game.
Well, but they will
built
make
for it.
Crucible a thing. They will make Halo
they-
or Destiny Crucible.
But I mean, like, we talk about this on Fireteam Chat all the time. Plug for Fireteam Chat, our IGN's Destiny
Like it's
podcast.
We're hitting
that I'm a
every
host.
show this
Yeah.
week.
See, what are your thoughts on Destiny?
But, like,
It's fine.
It's fine.
it's just not a game that's really built for it. There's no custom
Fulbright
matches.
Steve Gaynor says Destiny is fine.
I haven't really hardly played any of it, so.
I don't know. I don't think you'll actually see Activision. You'll probably see them let MLG run their tournaments for the rest of the year as they kind of phase in and out of whatever they were doing. But then I don't think you'll see them running
Man, it's going to
Counter-Strike
be
tournaments.
insane to see like the player response because players, like, there's so many MLG tournaments for so many different games for so many different players. Like, how does that affect the community of professional players negatively?
I mean, it'll be really interesting to see, but like I think MLG has. I mean, this is just from an outsider's perspective, but like in terms of esports, I think you've seen MLG as a organization kind of decline in esports viewership and interest level as ESL and the Riot League and Valve sort of majors for Dota kind of all uptick in terms of viewership.
Yeah.
So this is smart because MLG does have a big name for esports. They have a great team and a great sort of way of facilitating tournaments. And I think what you'll see is Activision just make that happen for Call of Duty and other games that they make.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think this is similar to the King deal, not monetarily, but in the sense of rather than with King and the mobile thing, Activision wanted a mobile business. So rather than take 2 or 3 years to organically grow their own, we've got the cash in pocket. Let's just buy a turnkey solution. I think that's what's going on here too. Like, we started an esports division. We need all this infrastructure and stuff. Why take the time to build our own when somebody's already built a perfectly good one that we can just buy, raid the carcass of, and then just throw out whatever we don't need. I think you're 100% right, Sean. So we'll see what Activision does with MLG in the coming year. Finally, just today as we went to record, so retailers were posting what is always a placeholder date, but a fairly specific placeholder date for Mafia 3, a game that is very highly anticipated. Our exclusive on that in December blew up.
Yeah.
It's really the first time anybody's seen it in extended gameplay form. We had a 12 or 13 minute thing with Hayden Blackman, who you may know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, from Bay Area circles, right? Bay Area game development circles. So April 26th was the date listed. 2K sent us, we inquired with 2K, they sent us a general press statement that
we
said,
do not comment on the rumors.
This said fiscal year 2017.
2K, Mr. 2K. You may be familiar.
Yeah.
Strauss Zelnick. That's here.
It's definitely not a Strauss accent.
Just because
not even
Strauss
close.
has a German name, that doesn't mean that he sounds like that guy.
Not even close.
Oh, Mitch.
Wasn't even meant to be a Strauss joke.
But it worked out that way, didn't
I guess so.
I was thinking maybe Hans Gruber. Sounded a little bit like
the gloss.
Anyway,
Bill Clay.
Anyway, I just want to say, I don't know about you guys. I don't buy this April 26th date for a second.
But it's a day after my birthday. Plus my birthday.
Happy birthday. Plus, stay tuned for the Mitch Dyer birthday podcast.
Get on that Amazon wish list.
Yeah, man.
Get all that juice.
But
put that in the show notes.
The fact is, they just revealed Mafia 3 at Gamescom, and then they just showed off the first significant chunk of it with us right before Christmas. I can't imagine that they're going to turn right around and the game's done and shipped.
Yeah, this is not going to be a Fallout 4
did
situation.
it specify 2016?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. It just says April 26th here in the show notes. So I could have been
2018 for
2017.
I wonder when because April 26th is Tuesday. I wonder what year April 26th is a Tuesday again.
I really wish that they would start releasing April 26th 20XX.
Yeah.
Take a guess, fools.
It'll be one of them. Get ready.
Just buckle
Fulbright's
up.
third game is actually coming in November 18th. 20XX.
Also, the fact that 2K, and I say this as a compliment, there's almost not a single 2K game other than NBA and WWE that comes out on time. Like, they're seriously,
Battleborn's delayed.
They delay everything. 2K is a company that will always give their developers more time for polish. It's happened time and time again over the years.
Or you can look at it as they'll always announce an early release date.
Or that as well, Mr. Developer, who has a better perspective on it than me.
I think it's probably both. I think they're sort of like, here's our target release date. We'd love for this to happen.
Cool, announce it.
And if people need more time, I mean, I think they do want the game to be as. They're not going to put something out that isn't living up to what they want it to be. So I think it's a little of both.
You make a good point. 2K didn't announce this. This is coming from retailers.
Right.
So the retailers are always given these placeholder dates as to when to maybe expect.
Right. They're trying to have their retail set up, saying okay, make sure there's something here. It's like if that needs to get pushed back, at least it's in the system, kind of. Yeah. So
Steve Gaynor making sense.
Oh yeah.
Destin is totally fired from the show. Steve Gaynor is the new full-time fourth chair.
Just Skype in with you guys
Yeah, you can just be on the.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'll be you.
That would be awesome.
You'll be
everybody.
Max Headroom on the screen back there.
We'll have our backs to you the whole time.
Everyone under 25 that listens to this show is like, who is Max Headroom? What is he talking about?
Google him. He's a weird guy.
All right, that's it for news this week. Mitch Dyer, what can we spend our money on as we start 2016?
Another riveting week at retail where there are 0 video games available. However, you can buy Beatsplosion for Kinect for $13.
Kicking off the year with a Kinect game.
A $13 Kinect game, which is weirdly specific.
Light him up.
Why
Put a-
13?
Someone put a stake through Kinect's heart and shoot it in the head with a silver bullet. It just will not stay
I think
dead.
they did, and Beatsplosion's like, nah, dog.
No way.
coming.
I'm back.
Play that on lock.ign.com. Let us know how that is.
Instead, Mitch, I believe we should be saving our money for one more week until Gone Home for Consoles releases
There you go.
for Xbox One.
I mean, get them both. Beatsplosion. Use that Kinect. You got it.
I would legitimately wonder, after, Xbox probably had a very good holiday. They had some great bundles and deals. What percentage of Xbox One owners have a Kinect anymore? Because the percentage really only goes down.
Yeah.
So what percentage of those people is it now? I would just be curious.
Also,
I love mine for voice navigation.
That's
It
what
is
I do.
perfect.
But also, at a dev, like, what is the process? Like, Carla comes to you and is like, Steve, the next game needs to be a Kinect game. What?
And you're like, you're fired.
Like, why would that ever be a thing you do right now? It's go like, yeah, you're right. We should totally make a Kinect game for the next year of our life.
For
2 years
fun,
of our
I
life.
guess. I mean, Beatsplosion, obviously.
It's a fun
they
game.
got, and they must have gotten the rug pulled out from under them.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah,
presumably they were like, this ships with Xbox. This is going to be great. And then they were like, actually, no. And they're like, well, we're still making
Poor
this game.
Beatsplosion.
Yeah.
Give them your charity $13.
So, I mean, I think a year or more ago, that might have been a very different question to ask
Yeah.
than today.
Your free January games with gold have been announced. Killer Instinct all month long. I thought that game was already free to play on Xbox One.
It is.
So is this like characters?
Maybe it's got to be the characters, yeah.
Maybe it's season 2 in anticipation of season 3.
Destin, we need you back. You're unfired.
Gaynor, you're fired. Get out of here.
I don't know anything about Killer Instinct.
And also Thief on Xbox One from
Till the 15th.
till the 15th of the month.
So they started that deal in the middle of December.
Yeah,
and it goes to the middle of
they
January.
organize them a
They
little.
do a really weird.
What is this game? Zeros.
I was gonna ask
Zeros.
how you pronounce it. Is it just
Just
zeros?
zeros.
Zeros, but with an H at the
H
front.
is silent.
Z Heroes from January 16th until February 15th. For
I like the
Xbox
name.
One.
I haven't heard of
Yeah.
it before.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, new digital thing. I don't know it either.
On Xbox 360, you can get Dirt Showdown till January 15th. After which, you can get Deus Ex Human Revolution, which is a pretty good Vigi.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely play Human Revolution if you hadn't. And that's got to be that they're setting up
For
Mankind
divided
in
like,
August.
because it's like a month.
August.
Oh, they
It got
pushed
delayed,
it back.
remember?
It was going to be like February or March, right?
It's
It
going to be the
was-
same day as Mirror's Edge and Far Cry.
Correct.
Okay.
And then two of them went, nah.
I'm guessing they set up this deal before that changed.
Probably.
No
Yeah,
doubt,
probably.
No doubt.
But like but to be clear, 360 games now. If you have Xbox One, you also get the 360
If
games.
it's
'cause they're-
Yes.
if it is
No.
on Games with Gold, it's backwards compatible.
Correct.
Right. They only release these if they're backwards compatible.
Yes.
So yeah, so if you've got an Xbox One, you can also get Human Revolution starting
all
January
of those
16th.
playable
January
on
16th.
Xbox One.
Nice. I'll play that on Xbox
Good
One.
stuff. All right, when it come right back, Destin took home the Dookie Trophy
Wow.
on our last show last year. Steve's like, that sounds like poop.
It does.
I will
Someone
explain.
gif whatever just happened there. 'Cause it's
Someone took a
gold.
shit in a trophy. I don't like IGN anymore.
He actually just took home a Green Day record.
It doesn't help
that makes
that
sense.
Destin's not here, so therefore the trophy's not here. So Steve has no idea what we're talking about. I will explain.
I can only imagine, and I don't like
I'll
doing
explain
it.
off mic right after this,
All right.
and then we'll come back. We're going to come back, and we're going to start the year
Oh, that slayed
with
me.
our trivia. All right. First trivia of the year. Hopefully you caught episode 225, because 226 was the outtakes. 220. If you missed 225, listen at least to the end of it when the Dookie Trophy was awarded. I had to explain to Steve Gaynor, creator of Gone Home in Tacoma, off air, that it is not, in fact, a trophy cup with poop in it. It was actually a Duke controller.
Right.
So we're going to play for it again in 2016.
I mean, all I'm going to say is I haven't seen it, so I'm not sure that he's not just saying that so that I'm not grossed out.
Right.
But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. It's a control.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. As people applaud outside for some strange reason. So, here we go. A new listener. I want to say hi to Andrew in Ireland. He says he's just started recently listening to the show. Welcome. Thank you for giving us a shot. He sent in, I had to rework his question a little bit. He'll learn the correct format. He's new. Give him time. So, his question is this, guys. A very small number of Xbox 360 retail games launched with less than 1,000 gamer score. So I'm not counting live arcade stuff in here, which of course had a cap of 200 points. Very small number of 360 retail games launched with less than 1,000 gamer score. Which of the following had 1,000? So 3 of the games I'm about to tell you were the less than 1,000. Oh. One of these was 1,000. So I want you to pick out the one that was, in fact, 1,000. And then you will learn.
So only one of these had 1,000.
And then you will learn that the rest were 3 of the rare few that shipped with fewer than 1,000 gamer score. Was it Blue Dragon, Condemned Criminal Origins, Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2, or Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2006? Steve Gaynor, please mark your answer.
Lord.
I'm hiding my
Everybody else marking your answers.
Known cheat, Steve Gaynor.
Yeah, this guy.
Dude, I'm gonna. All right.
He's thinking it over.
Well, I have this thing where in situations like this, I pick something and then I second guess myself.
No,
and
follow
I say
your
something
heart.
else. And
Follow
the
your
first
heart.
thing, often correct. So I went back and circled my first thing. It will
Always
still be wrong.
Always go with the gut.
It will still be wrong.
That's fine. Follow your
But
heart.
I at least went with the thing that I initially thought.
I don't. So I will say, for the record, I would not have gotten this. This was a very good question. Very good job by our friend Andrew in Ireland. So, Sean Finnegan, I'm going to go to you first. By the way, suck at Destin, you're not here. You're going to be a point behind.
Not me, because I chose my answer, as I always do, at random. And
attaboy, Finnegan.
I chose Blue Dragon. My reasoning is just because that game seems really, really big, and I think it probably had 1,000 gamers.
Okay, that's some good potential logic there. Steve Gaynor, I'll go to you next. What do you think?
I said Condemned Criminal Origins.
So you think Condemned had a full thou?
And
launch title?
I probably shouldn't think it's that because it's a launch title. Maybe they hadn't gotten stuff straightened out by that point or something. But I also just kind of randomly think it did. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right, Mitch Dyer.
I also said Blue Dragon. My logic, hopefully a little more sound than Finnegan. Pretty sure this was an MGS published game, so I would assume if Microsoft is publishing your game, you're gonna have 1,000 gamer score. This also came out later than all 3 of the other games.
Interesting logic.
I wasn't
there
sure
as well.
about that with. I wasn't sure when Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2
That was
came out.
2007. It was either 06 or 07.
It was early because I reviewed it for you guys at OXM.
I played through that entire game. Loved it, by the way.
Okay.
All right. Well.
And you already know the answer, so you don't get to.
I don't
vote?
know. I don't. I'm just the host here.
All
just
the emails,
facilitator.
all the questions go to him with the correct answer.
Yeah.
Okay. So he gets them all spoiled.
So, Steve, I'm afraid you will not be in contention for this year's Dookie Trophy.
Yeah. Okay.
But Finnegan and Mitch off to a good start.
That was
Blue
the one I was
Dragon.
going to change it to. Damn it!
Follow your heart, Gaynor.
I did. My heart did me wrong. I was going to say Blue Dragon. No. Well,
good job, guys.
Destin, you can have my non-point.
I was going to say, can we give Steve a point just so it's somebody else who has more points than Destin?
No.
Let's give
He's
him
never
not
going
how
to
it
listen to
works.
this show. He's never going to know.
Well, because I was going to say Destin can have my point. He now gets my point because I don't get a point.
Yeah.
He gets to have my 0 points.
All right. If you would like to participate, I've got, thanks to the generosity of you, the listeners, I have a pile of download codes for all 4 of the original Xbox 360 Gears of War games, because everybody's been getting their piles from the bundles that many people have been sending in if they already own the game. So you can choose from Gears 1, 2, 3, or Judgment, and you can play by sending in your Xbox-related trivia question. Please make sure it's you got 4 multiple choice answers. Note the correct one in your email. Do not do the what celebrity first unveiled the Xbox with Bill Gates.
It was The Rock. We know that.
It was The Rock.
So
we know
easy.
that. Everyone has sent that in 6,000 times. Pick something else. And send that where, Mitch?
Unlocked.ign.com.
Brilliant. It is finally time to go after 2
700
hours of
years.
podcast.
I'm sorry.
Welcome back.
You're only halfway done today.
I know.
Our show's a lot shorter.
Well, and I just did Idle Thumbs this morning. This is like my 4th hour of
I'm gonna
podcasting
feed you
right
now. Don't
Good,
worry
good.
about it.
I'm excited about that.
So,
Chicken farm.
Steve, let's start with some plugs for you. Of course, Gone Home is coming to Xbox One next week, January 12th, for $19.99 on the Xbox digital storefront.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have like a launch discount, so little gimme
on
for
Xbox?
people that I think so.
Awesome.
I don't know.
That'd be
Sorry,
good.
we're working with a publisher. I'm not like
You probably
dealing with that
shouldn't put that out
directly.
there, yeah.
We've been talking about it.
I'm
Maybe
gonna
not.
look it up right now
Okay,
on
no.
Smart Glass.
Let's say.
I don't
if
think
it's
it's
I don't-
probably
it's not.
there
It's
yet.
not. It's not up there yet.
No? Okay.
So anyway, whatever. Yes, it'll be the same price as on PC. We're excited to have it on Xbox. It runs great. We're gonna, I think, show you guys some video of it a little later today.
Yes.
And then we're working on Tacoma. That's going to come out later this year. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm just at Fulbright, FULLBRIGHT.
Same name as your development studio.
Indeed.
What a
What's the
coinky-dink.
deal with tone control?
I'm going to do more of it after Tacoma comes out.
Nice. Okay, cool.
So.
Go back and listen to season 1 of Tone Control. It's really good.
Yeah, Tone
Really
Control.
cool
You
podcast.
can go to idlethumbs.net/tone control. And after Gone Home came out, I interviewed a bunch of game developers that I am a fan of, basically. 13 game developers. I interviewed, Jonathan Blow and Tim
Hawking.
Schafer and
Name
Clint
drop.
Hawking and Ken Levine and just a bunch of really fascinating people. It was cool. We just kind of got into it. So go back, check it out if you're
Like you
interested
fought
in
each other?
Yeah, actually most of them beat the shit out of me. But no, we did, it's just it's a developer to developer conversation, so we kind of got into the whole game development nuts and
That's
bolts
awesome.
kind of stuff.
I love that kind of
Brendan
stuff.
Chung.
Yep.
Talk to him, etc. So yeah,
real
check
smart
it out.
boy, Brendan Chung.
idlethumbs.net/tone control.
Good stuff. Sean Finnegan, Sharkman.
Follow me on Twitter at ShotByFinnegan.
Got
This
a new
is
Twitter handle.
New Twitter handle because
But who is Finnegan now? We'll never know.
well, there's already a Finnegan out there. He's a poser, so
Oh!
he already stole my Twitter handle. So
Wow.
yeah, Shot by Finnegan. I also made this
Shots
year's
fired by
Game of the Year video
Why such a violent Twitter handle?
because he was a jerk. He didn't even want to give it to me, and I was like, hey, I was.
No, I mean,
being
you
real
shot
nice.
by Finnegan.
You
oh,
asked,
wait, you
as,
killed
as
him?
in
No,
cameras.
video.
He's like a-
I know, I'm just...
I thought for a minute you were literally like, why?
People have misinterpreted.
Wait, did you
before.
literally ask this man like, hey man, can I have your Twitter handle?
I asked a bunch of people. I've been trying to get away from I'm Finnegan for a long time.
Why? That's
Because you have to spell it out for people. People are like,
Okay.
wait, is it I am or is
Okay.
it just I'm? And I'm like, it's dumb.
fine. And Murdered by Finnegan was too long.
Yeah.
so
yeah.
makes sense.
What if you just said it was Imby Finnegan?
What about filmed by Finnegan? Then you get the alliteration.
Shot by's better because it's not always filmed.
He's like, oh my god.
Counterpoint.
He knows. He's like, oh my god, you're so right. I wish I thought
It's
that.
not always film that I'm shooting. It's a lot of photography as
Oh,
well.
get whatever. No, I'm
Video,
kidding. It's-
digital,
Yeah.
DVRs,
Yeah.
put it on them
DVR by
VCDs.
Steve gets it.
Yeah.
So yeah, follow me on Twitter at Shot by Finnegan. I also made this year's Game of the Year video, which
That
will
could
be
be
live
your
on
new Twitter
Friday.
handle. Steve
Friday.
Gets it. At
Yeah.
Steve Gets It.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
Hey man, can I have Fulbright? I really want to have Fulbright.
Email me after. DM me.
You can buy it.
Game of the Year video will be live on Friday. I made that one, so check that out. We haven't announced the winners yet, but that'll announce it. It's a real cool video.
Yep.
So
Mitch
Yeah.
Dyer.
At Mitchy D on Twitter. Listen to IGN Overclocked. That's our PC show. Steve will be on it today.
Oh, yeah.
But it won't go live till Friday. We're not giving
But
your
don't listen to it
nominee.
because we already had the best of Steve right here.
That's true. There are
listen
no
to
more
Over-
questions.
Listen to Overclock.
We'll just go straight into the actual show.
I'm going to listen to Overclock this week again because I want to hear about your VR discussion. No doubt a lot of Oculus talk going to happen.
You betcha. Brace yourselves. That shit is expensive.
You can find me on Twitter at DMC_Ryan. IGN First this month is a game called Perception, led
With
by someone that you used to work with for a little while,
former
Bill Gardner.
coworker of mine. He was a designer on BioShock 1 and I think the
lead on
design
Infinite?
director,
Yeah.
lead designer on BioShock Infinite. Good guy. They're doing the indie studio first-person exploration thing, but Perception is like
It's a horror game.
It's a first-person horror game about playing as a blind character who uses echolocation to find their way around. It's
so
cool.
We've got some video up on IGN now. I've got a huge written account of my time with the game, and we're going to have a lot more video and more. In fact, Bill and his wife were in here. I did an interview with them about making a game as a married couple and what that's like in life, because that
Awesome.
was a fascinating topic for me. So all kinds of stuff going on with Perception all month long on IGN First, so please keep an eye out for that. I'm also reviewing... finally getting around to reviewing the newest version of the Astro A40 headset.
Oh, there's a new version?
Yeah, which I've been a huge fan of for many years. But then the one that was for Xbox One last year, I had some major problems with, gave it a bad review. So this is the latest revision. Look for that review coming up soon.
The
on IGN.
HyperX Cloud is also coming to Xbox as like an Xbox edition.
Interesting.
That's a real good headset.
I will say, spoiler alert, the new Astros back to awesome. So that's the good news there. Look for my review on that. And I think that's everything.
We did it, everybody.
I want to sincerely
We did it
thank
forever.
Thanks for
2
all of your
hours
time.
and 4 minutes and counting.
We got this.
I want to sincerely thank you, Steve Gaynor, for coming in and donating an absurd amount of your time.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
I really appreciate the development, the insights from you from your side of the industry as a developer and as a just as a gamer as well. I think it's really valuable to get those insights and to understand your side of how this business and this hobby is.
Yeah,
so
happy to do it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's really good to get to talk to you guys about that kind of stuff. So yeah, thanks again.
And we're going to play Gone Home, in my case, again on Xbox
Yeah, man.
next week.
Sweet.
It's also on PS4. Thank you, Shark Finnegan.
Welcome.
Good to see you, Mitch Dyer.
Yeah, duder.
And we'll welcome back Destin and Marty on next week's show. My name's Ryan McCaffrey. This was Podcast Unlocked episode 227, kicking off 2016 with the longest show I think we might have ever done. I think you're
Happy
right.
2016.
Yeah, we'll be back next week. See you guys.
Bye.